Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome for the first time. If you're joining me here for the first time, welcome to a new episode or spy number of Chasing Labels. This is episode or spy number 185. The numbers keep going up and up. I guess that's the way numbers go. But I am your host, Andrew Cabral, and we are back here once again for hopefully another fun-filled episode of Chasing Labels. It has been 2 weeks or so since the previous one. Like I said, if you're joining me here once again, thank you. If you're joining me here for the first time, this is the Movie Collectors Podcast / YouTube channel where we take a specific snapshot of time, pretty much the last 2 weeks or so, and go over some of the announcements in the world of boutique label home video. Home video, home entertainment, Blu-rays, 4Ks, pretty much. I was going to say DVDs, but not really. But um, once again, we're back. And yeah, this is basically going over things that I want to add to my collection at some point, things you may want to add to your collection, or things I just find interesting in general. There is a usual suspects of certain boutique labels that you will know, and perhaps many of you do love. On this episode, we will be going over the recent announcements from Arrow Video, Eureka Entertainment, Severin Films, Kino Lorber Studio Classics. Who else is out there? A couple of individual ones. Also, of course, the big headliner, which will be saved for the last part of the show, will be the Vinegar Syndrome announcements as well as their partner labels. Those drop every first of the month, and indeed, they did drop this recent first of the month, which was March 1st, 2026. So a couple of days ago. I'm doing this episode on a Tuesday versus my usual Monday to give me an extra day to go over all of those announcements from Vinegar Syndrome and their partner labels. Also because over the last week or so I've been a little bit under the weather, so I'm not 100%. I'm still pretty sick, so this episode won't be as lively as it usually is, depending on what your definition of lively is. But I will try to be as upbeat as possible, but it may be a little sluggish, a little slow going. So please excuse me for that. I do have a box of tissues next to me if I do need them. If I start coughing randomly in the middle of a sentence, you'll know why. It's because I'm a little bit under the weather, and I've been sick for about the last week or so. So even when it came to preparation for this episode, all of that was hindered by this recent illness that I'm going through. But yeah, a little housekeeping before we get into this week's episode or this episode. A couple of things that are resuming here on Chasing Labels. We will be doing another episode of Movies Down Memory Lane. I believe that is happening the 14th of March. Let me get my calendar out because I always forget these things. Yeah, so Movies Down Memory Lane will be March 14th, which is a Saturday. So not this coming Saturday, next Saturday. We'll be doing a live episode of Movies Down Memory Lane, which it will be Steven, myself, and our friend Dan Skip Allen. We will be resuming that show, where we take a movie that means something significant to us and basically we talk about it. It could be a movie we saw when we were a kid, could be a movie we saw when we were an adult, could be any genre, anything at all. Steven has chosen his movie for that episode. It will be Scott Pilgrim versus the World, a movie that I was indeed very, very much obsessed with about 14 years ago. A movie that I kept watching over and over and over again. So we will be getting into all of that, so stay tuned for that. Also, we will be doing another episode of the Unwatched Pile that is coming up on the 29th of March. So that is towards the end of the month. I can't even think of that right now. Also, hopefully around that time, I will be doing an interview with our friend Scott Saslow, who's been working on a bunch of different things from a bunch of different labels, primarily with Arrow Video. He worked on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles trilogy box set from late last year, one of my favorite releases. I believe he worked on Excalibur as well. I think Westworld too, plus a bunch of things from a couple of other places, but we'll get into all of that at that time. I've been talking with him. It'll be like the 5th time Scott's been here on Chasing Labels. So I'll be catching up with him. And also Movie Mutations, our movie-related game show, Movie Mutations, has a few episodes up. Check that out if you haven't checked that out already, where we take a movie that you know and perhaps love and then completely change it to something unrecognizable for the most part. Recently, we did an episode on the movie Rocky and changed it from a boxing movie to a movie about competitive eating competitive eating, which was a lot of fun. But some other things here, a little bit of movie collection update, not much because literally a week ago there was a massive blizzard and storm here in the Northeast. It was the biggest blizzard to hit my state since 1978. It blew away the record for the famous blizzard of 1978 to where nearly 40 inches of snow was dropped on the state here. I know in my city alone there was 32 inches of snow, and they are still digging out as of right now. So there was no postal service for the last week, no Amazon, nothing like that. So I wasn't really able to get anything. But beforehand, before the snow hit last week, I did pick up two mainstream releases, and the 4K UHD release of Ben-Hur, the William Wyler film from 1959, the winner of so many Oscars. It's an epic. It's an epic. So I picked this up from this came out from Warner Brothers, as well as the classic 1970s political film In All the President's Men. I believe this is the Alan J. Pakula film, starring Robert Redford as well as Dustin Hoffman. And this is, of course, about Watergate and the Nixon administration, political corruption. It's one of the most famous movies to entail all of those things. The 1970s had a plethora of political charged movies. It was a politically charged time, as I guess all time really has been, even up to this day, certainly to this day as well. But All the President's Men, as well as Ben-Hur, I have to say, these both look astonishing in 4K. I know typically here on Chasing Labels, we talk about the boutique label world of movie releases, which do tend to look amazing. But for mainstream releases from a mainstream studio, non-boutique related, these restorations and remasters look extraordinary, especially Ben-Hur. So Ben-Hur is like a large scale, like epic, biblical epic, and it looks monumentally beautiful in 4K. Just absolutely astounding. If you've never seen Ben-Hur, it's a long film. I won't lie to you on that. It's a doozy of a long movie, but my goodness, yeah, 222 minutes. So the movie's on two discs. I think the Blu-ray was on two discs. I think the DVD was like a four disc set. It was massive. Anywho, um, here is the set here. For those of you listening at home, sorry you can't hear this if you're listening audio only. Um, but yeah, the big issue I have with this here is once again Warner Brothers for some reason um uh the disc hubs are a little off in terms of measurements. The holes at the center of the discs are smaller than the actual tray, the hubs on the trays themselves. So the discs keep falling out of this case. And I've noticed that they did that with a couple of the Warner Archive releases as well. And I just keep noticing that keeps happening over and over again. That's a quality control issue, but doesn't take away from the fact how good the movies look. So I'll just show you um, All the President's Men, which is just a single disc here. And I have to say, over the last year or so, Warner Brothers has been putting out several of their back catalog stuff directly from themselves, not licensing out to boutique labels. They did Amadeus last year. They did One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And they all look really, really good too. So I'm impressed with what Warner Brothers is doing. So that's about it in terms of things that I've gotten over the last little while, at least from the last episode to this episode. I do have some things coming in the mail. I'm finally getting my copy of the Radiance release of Night of the Juggler. That is coming. Peking Opera Blues, the 4K Arrow release. I'm getting that. And a couple other things I've got to order too. I know Hamnet came out this week, which is a new a new release movie. One of my favorites of last year is the Chloe Zhao's newest film. I want to get that. Um, yeah. Let me see. Oh, some other things that have happened. Steven's done a couple of interviews since the last episode of Chasing Labels has been up. He did an interview with our friend Jonathan Hertzberg from Fun City Editions. He's been on, I think that was his third time he's been here on Chasing Labels. So if you're a fan of Fun City Editions, that boutique label, check out that interview that's up here on the channel. Speaking of Radiance, let me check because I forget the name. I should look these things up beforehand. Actually, I could do it on my phone. It'd be easier than opening up a new tab. Um, let's see, because I want to make sure I get the name right. Let's see. Paul Martinovich, who does he does let's see, yeah, Transmission slash Radiance Films. Yeah, so he's in charge of the Transmission sub label over at Radiance. So he worked on Night of the Juggler as well as the Stuntman, which just came out. That's another one I have to get. I have to get the Stuntman. So check out those interviews that are up here on the channel right now. If you're, of course, if you're interested in those releases and those labels. A couple of other things here. Oh, I do want to. Speaking of Warner Brothers, that was the transition I was going to make. So, since our previous episode and this episode, the world of Warner Brothers has changed. So, people probably remember about 2 months or so ago, Netflix and Warner Brothers made a deal in which Netflix was going to buy Warner Brothers. And there's a whole big to do about that. You know, the sky is falling, end of cinema, and what does it mean for physical media? What does it mean for theatrical exhibition? Because Netflix is primarily a streamer. Netflix doesn't really put a lot of things out in movie theaters and whatnot. Well, you could throw all those concerns out of the way, throw them in the trash, because that deal no longer is happening. Now, Warner Brothers is presumably being bought by Paramount. Uh, and now that creates a whole other can of worms of concern when it comes to all kinds of things, monopolies and market shares and uh, consolidations of departments and people losing their jobs, and what does it mean for the theatrical output for both studios, and what does it mean for HBO, what does it mean for this and that and everything. um, it's a whole other can of worms. We shall see how that will carry out. um, what does it mean for the world of physical media as pertains to things regarding chasing labels? I'll say the same thing that I said when the Netflix deal happened. If there are Warner Brothers releases that you've been wanting to get specifically from Warner Archive or from the various distribution deals that they currently have with Criterion or Arrow or whomever, I would suggest getting them sooner rather than later, because you just never know. You just never know what's going to happen. Especially with something as niche as and specific as Warner Archive, which has gone through a couple of changes over the years when it came to Warner Brothers and AT&T, that whole acquisition thing that happened, that changed things radically for Warner Archive. When it came to Warner Brothers Discovery, that merger there, or that acquisition there, whatever it was, that changes things as well. So if you're looking to get Warner Archive releases or any other Warner Brothers release, get them sooner rather than later, because you never know. You really never know. Hopefully nothing changes regarding that. Hopefully we keep getting boutique label Warner Brothers releases. They keep licensing things out. They keep putting out their catalog stuff through themselves. Hopefully we keep getting that. But who really knows when it comes to the ever-changing world of entertainment, movies, all that kind of stuff. So, hey, uh, stay tuned, essentially. But I think that's pretty much it in terms of catching up on things. Let's get into what we came to get into. The announcements for the boutique world of home media. Where do I want to start? Where do I want to start? I have my list of. Actually, you know where I want to start is something I don't even have on my notes list because it dropped literally yesterday. So this is not on the notes down below in the video here on YouTube or wherever else you're kind of listening or consuming this. So I apologize for that. But our friends over at New Wave Video had an announcement yesterday. Says coming mid 2026, the Takashi Miike film Visitor Q is getting a Blu-ray release from New Wave Video, featuring a brand new transfer from the original master tape and an all-new 30-minute interview with the director Takashi Miike himself. It says here, New Wave Video is proud to bring this absolutely shocking and darkly hilarious cult classic back into the spotlight where it truly belongs. Um, Yeah, pre-orders are expected to open in late April. So this is not even up on their website yet. This is only from their Facebook page. So if you're curious about New Wave Video, go over to New Wave Video on Facebook. Go to their website, newwavevideo.com. Um, even though I just said it's not up there, but still, if you're interested in their releases, go there. Congratulations to our friend John Matthews, as well as everybody over at New Wave Video, because this is kind of a big get. Takashi Miike is a pretty well-known uh, director. To get one of his films in your catalog, being a brand new label, is pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. I'm pretty sure many of you know who Takashi Miike is. I don't have to take too much time into delving into that. Excuse me for 1 second. It starts already. Um, so for me, Takashi Miike is the director of Audition, as well as 13 Assassins, Ichi the Killer. Um, yeah, he has a plethora of stuff in his filmography. He's directed over 100 things, according to his IMDb. And yeah, this is a movie that came out, I think, in 2001. So this is going back a little bit into the coffers of Takashi Miike. And it's a movie I've actually never seen. So this will be something that I will see for the first time whenever I get a chance to watching it. Um, yeah, but needless to say, obviously, if you're not familiar with Takashi Miike, his work is not for everyone. It's incredibly graphic. It's incredibly harsh. If you're not somebody who can stand like violence and things of that nature, sexual elements, stuff like that, he's probably not the director for you. Excuse me. Um, yeah, but this is a great get for New Wave Video. So I'm curious to see how that unfolds, like when that's coming out. Um, yeah, it says mid 2026, so there's no date on it yet, but we shall see. Um, awesome, awesome. So I wanted to make sure to throw that in there, give them a special shout out. But let me see what else I've got here in terms of. I guess I'll stick with the individual releases or individual announcements, um, just because that's seemingly where to go. I know. Let's see. So, Film Treasures over in the UK, they're putting out a movie called Elevator. Well, it's a movie. It's a movie that has already come out. Well, it's. I think it's from from 2004. I gotta. There it is. Yeah, Treasured Films is putting out Elevator: The Bottled Fools. Now, it came out in 2003, and it's limited to 2,000 copies. Let me get some. Oh, okay, no information. I get a little synopsis here. So one elevator, one girl who can read minds, and one floor where the elevator should have never stopped. The ideal ingredients for a classic piece of weird horror in the claustrophobic space of the elevator. A bunch of screwed up psychos who bored halfway through produce who bored halfway through produce absolute madness and mayhem on every square inch. Interesting. Interesting. Let me go over to their website, see if I can get any more information about the release itself. Yet again, I apologize. I am way behind my usual preparation here. So things are moving a little slower than usual. Of course, a bunch of pop-ups show up, not very helpful. Ah, there it is. Yeah, the movie is entirely set in an elevator. It says the brainchild of wonderkind director Hiroki Yamaguchi, who completed the film aged only 23 before it became the hit of the 2004 Fantasia Film Festival. Elevator the Bottled Fools, also known as Gusho no Bendum, makes its worldwide Blu-ray debut and is presented here in a newly graded master in a much treasured special edition. Let's see, double walled slipcase with brand new artwork, illustrated collector's booklet featuring writings, web store exclusive convict magnet, web store exclusive reversible poster. I believe this is region B locked. Presented in a newly graded and upscaled master approved by the director. There's a special feature, Social Order and Psychological Collapse and Elevator video essay by Robert Edwards. Fatal Floors elevated horror video essay on elevators in horror cinema by Darrell Buxton. Interview with director Hiroki Yamaguchi, making a featurette, and then opening day stage greeting featurette. And then there's an image gallery and reversible sleeve featuring new artwork as well. Yeah, so that is the movie Elevator being put out by Film Treasures. Now, is there a date on this? That's something it says this product will be shipped on May 25th, 2026. Okay, so it'll be coming out on that date in May. Right on, right on. So there's also two, I guess we're in the UK. We might as well stay in the UK. There's two Hammer titles that I wanted to talk about, both directed by Sidney J. Furie. And they're both from the 1960s, The Snake Woman and Dr. Blood's Coffin. So let me see if I can track some info about these down. Let's see. The Snake Woman. There it is. So it says here, Hammer is preparing a Blu-ray release of Sidney J. Furie's The Snake Woman from 1961. Here's a little synopsis. Experience the Snake Woman as never before, painstakingly restored by Hammer from 4K scans of the original film negative. This Edwardian monster horror returns with newly revealed detail and intensity. And an Edwardian detective investigates a series of venomous deaths in this thrilling tale from award-winning director Sidney J. Furie. Born cold to the touch after her mother's treatment with snake venom, a mysterious girl grows into something far more dangerous, haunted by superstitious villagers and a murderous midwife who knows the truth. Featuring a modern take on the other in society, The Snake Woman blends folklore, horror, and social commentary into something genuinely unsettling. There's a new 2K restoration of the movie, new commentary with writer, filmmaker, and film programmer Heidi Honeycutt, and TV film critic Sarah Morgan. Brand new, it's image gallery, brand new artwork, limited edition O-card packaging. But yeah, so I've seen the movie, and it's kind of exactly what it suggests it is. It's this Hammer horror folklore type of movie. It reminded me a lot of like um, movies from Val Lewton that were done in the 40s here in the US. Movies like Cat People or The Leopard Man or uh, stuff like that. It reminded me a lot of that, but with a little Hammer twist to it. So there's this mad scientist who's trying to like cure his wife's, I think, insanity or something by like feeding her snake venom while she's pregnant. Yeah, it's a bit of a messy situation. Then the baby is born, and people think like the baby's cursed, and which leads to like villagers freaking out and all kinds of stuff. And needless to say, the baby grows up, and people start dying, seemingly by being poisoned but through snake bites. So what's going on? That's basically the gist of the movie. Now I know Sidney J. Furie because there's a Sidney J. Furie box set put out by Imprint years ago. Let me see if I can find that, because I know that was one. Here it is, directed by Sidney J. Furie. This came out in 2023, and it had the lawyer, Little Foss and Big Halsey, uh, hit Sheila Levine is dead and living in New York. The Boys in Company C. I remember when this box set came out. This thing is like long out of print at this point. Um, but I remember people being very excited for a Sidney J. Fury box set. So that's really cool. So this is coming out May 4th. This Hammer release of the Snake Woman is coming out May 4th. Um, Let me check. What's it? Dr. Blood's Coffin. That's the other movie. Also coming out May 4th. This is the other Sidney J. Fury Hammer film. Dr. Blood's Coffin. Hammer is preparing a Blu-ray release of Sidney J. Fury's Dr. Blood's Coffin. Description of the movie here is Britain's first color zombie film. Horror queen Hazel Court and cult actor Kieran Moore give intense performances in this macabre and sometimes gory Cornish horror from influential director Sidney J. Fury. Scripted by Oscar winner Nathan Juran and featuring camera work from a young Nicholas Rogue. Wow. Dr. Blood's Coffin has been painstakingly restored by Hammer from scans of the original film negative. A man goes missing in the sleepy village of Porthcawen, the latest victim in a series of horrifying medical experiments carried out by the arrogant and maniacal Dr. Peter Blood. Fixated on creating life from death, Blood is determined that his gift is only for those he considers worthy, at the cost of those he doesn't. This is more in line with what we know from Hammer. Um, Weird macabre movie, um, dealing with zo- uh like zombies and stuff like that. Um, but there's a new 2K restoration of the film, new commentary with actor and film historian Jonathan Rigby, author of English Gothic, Kevin Lyons, editor of the Encyclopedia of Fantastic Film and Television website. And that's it. That's it. So these are two. This is coming out May 4th. So these are two Hammer releases: The Snake Woman and Dr. Blood's Coffin. Both movies came out in 1961. Both directed by Sidney J. Fury. Hammer has been doing some pretty cool stuff over the last year or so. So they're continuing right along. They're not stopping. They're breaking for no one. Let's see what else we've got here. I guess we'll go over. No, okay. So I will talk a little bit about this. Yeah. So there's. Let me see if I can bring this up. So Vestron is putting out a Blu-ray release of The Substitute, starring Tom Berenger. Oh, a 4K actually. Hold on now. Lionsgate limited exclusive Vestron Collector Series 4K Ultra HD plus Blu-ray plus digital. This is being put out by Lionsgate through their Vestron line. Lionsgate, for me, I think I've said this for as long as we've been doing Chasing Labels. To me, Lionsgate's kind of a hybrid label where they do both mainstream releases as well as boutique releases. And Vestron's kind of their boutique for the most part. I would say that's accurate. Um, yeah, I would say that's accurate. So let me get some information on here. So it's the 30th anniversary release of this movie. It came out in 1996. Yeah. Lionsgate Home Entertainment will celebrate the 30th anniversary of Robert Mandel's The Substitute with a 4K Blu-ray combo pack release, which is scheduled to arrive on the market on March 17th. Oh, so this is coming out in 2 weeks. Um, In this action thriller favorite, now on 4K for the first time, a mercenary faces off against one of his most formidable enemies, a high school gang. Uh, Tom Berenger is an ex-Vietnam vet reeling from a botched covert operation. Returning home, he reunites with his girlfriend, a high school teacher who's hospitalized after a beating by the Kings of Destruction gang. Hunting Jane's attackers, uh, he goes undercover as a substitute teacher and uncovers a cocaine highway running through the school involving gang leader uh, Lacus. I thought it was Lucas. Oh, it doesn't matter. Portrayed by Mark Anthony, the musician, singer Mark Anthony, and the school's shady principal, who's portrayed by Ernie Hudson from Ghostbusters fame. Summoning his mercenaries, Tom Berenger goes to war with the Kings of Destruction and rival guns for hire on the unusual battleground of a high school, but for the usual stakes, life and death. Um, the movie is exactly as ridiculous as you think it is. It's exactly as ridiculous as uh, as one would guess. So Tom Berenger is like this hard ass military covert ops guy. After a botched mission, he comes home kind of dejected and kind of over it, and basically just doesn't want anything to do with that anymore. But his girlfriend is a teacher at a really harsh, like urban inner city school that is just like rampant with juvenile delinquency and crime and everything you could imagine. Ernie Hudson a principal is a principal there, and she gets in trouble with the local gang, and to the point where they attack her. And he rescues her, and he decides he's going to impersonate himself as a substitute teacher to take her place, to find out, well, like, to basically get revenge, or to find out what the heck's going on there. And that's the movie. And of course, it gets ridiculous. The It gets ridiculous. Like, but this is a 2-disc release, a 4K and a Blu-ray. I think this is a steelbook too. Is this a steelbook? Let me see. It doesn't say. No, it doesn't say. I thought it looked like a steelbook, but it's not. New 4K restoration of the film, Dolby Vision HDR presentation of the film, Dolby Atmos audio track. I guess that makes sense. There's action in here. That'll pump up your surround sound system with the Dolby Atmos track. Power achieved is power perceived. Director Robert Mandel on The Substitute. That's a new special feature. Color grade is in session. That's another new special feature. Bullet points, storyboard to film exploration, then theatrical trailer. So that is The Substitute, starring Tom Berenger from 1996. Let's see. Then move on from there. We have a couple of Umbrella releases. Let me go to Umbrella's website. Because actually, one of these will not be on Umbrella's website. Okay. That reminds me. That just popped into my head. So, Umbrella is releasing Rad in 4K as well as BMX Bandits, but Rad is not available from the umbrella.com website if you have a US IP address. So basically, if you're like me in the United States and you go to Umbrella's website, you will not be able to access the the page for Rad, because I think here in the US, Vinegar Syndrome still owns the rights to Rad, so you can't access it in another country. It's kind of annoying, really. But that's the whole rights issue thing. But you will be able to pre-order the 4K edition of BMX Bandits. To me, Rad is a better movie than BMX Bandits. Well, or is it the other way around? Either way, these are both like extreme sports movies from the 80s. um but since I am on Umbrella's website right now and they have BMX Bandits here, we'll talk about BMX Bandits first. So only available from the Umbrella web store. There's this special collector's edition, as they typically do. There's a 100-page book of behind-the-scenes material and essays by Parker Constantine, Alexandra Heller Nicholas, Cameron Mitchell, script book featuring director Brian Trenchard Smith's annotated shooting script, original art rigid case, custom illustration slipcase by Colin Murdoch, BMX Bandits, sticker sheet, 8 art cards. There's a reversible poster. Limited edition numbered release. So it says Burn Rubber with BMX Bandits and 4K Dolby Vision for the first time from a new Umbrella restoration, including hours of new extras. BMX Bandits burst with energy and invention from acclaimed exploitation director Brian Trenchard Smith, who did the movie Turkey Shoot, and dynamic cinematography from Oscar winner John Seals, starring breakout Nicole Kidman. Yes, super young Nicole Kidman is in this movie. Now, keep in mind, this movie's from like 1983. Let me see. I believe 1983. And yeah, 1983. So this is super young Nicole Kidman is in this movie. Way before she was in stuff that we wouldn't know, like before Days of Thunder, before Far and Away, before all of her 90s work, which made her a gigantic star. And then, of course, afterward and whatnot, of course. Um, yes, it's nice to see the origins of certain stars. Nice to see where they get their star from. I always find that to be a little interesting thing if you go back into people's filmographies and whatnot, and gets to see where they start, especially people from other countries who typically got their start in other countries, and sometimes you don't even know that. And sometimes you do, but you don't even know where to go to look for a lot of their early work. Like for example, um, I think of other Australian actors. I think of people like Russell Crowe. You watch a movie like Romper Stomper from the early to mid '90s, where he was in Australia, and you think of pretty much anything that Heath Ledger did before he did 10 Things I Hate About You. Um, yeah, you go back and watch his Australian stuff. Naomi Watts, who was in Tank Girl, and then oh, so many others. Uh, but yeah, it's fascinating to me, just to see a young Nicole Kidman in this film. But let me continue on with uh the specs for this release. Let's see. So for those of you, actually, let me see if I can get a. Where is it? Oh yeah, it has a little synopsis. The wheel spinning adventure of three teenagers gets complicated when they discover a box of stolen walkie talkies left behind by a gang of bank robbers intended for illegal surveillance. PJ, Goose, and Judy, Nicole Kidman, decide to have a little fun at the crooks' expense when they return to collect their stash. The trio is forced to put their biking skills to the test and lead chase, causing all sorts of mayhem across town, including a spectacular escape down the Manly Water Works water slides. So basically, like you have these three kids who just happen to stumble upon these walkie-talkies that are used by these criminals, and lo and behold, like they're still connected to like this crime, or they're still connected to these people, so they can talk on them, and they can hear like certain things that are happening from other people connected on the same bandwidth, including the police of all people. So they get caught up in this crime, really, or and they try to like foil it and prevent it, and all kinds of like hijinks ensue, really. And of course, a lot of like motocross, like BMX biking stuff happens as well. Like they're all like awesome BMX bikers and whatnot. There was this whole thing in the 80s and really the 90s with skateboarding and BMX bikes and motocross with, with dirt bikes and stuff like that. That was a huge wave, a really big, huge wave. And there were movies centered around uh, these things, specifically centered around young characters, like teenagers, basically. And yeah, this is one of them, BMX Bandits. So for special features, we have going where BMX bikes don't belong, an interview with Brian Trenchard Smith, smashing through protocols, an interview with director of photography John Seal. This was my tribe, an interview with actor Peter Brown, it will last forever, an interview with producer Tom Broadbridge. I'm not past it yet, an interview with sound engineer Phil Judd. Father and Son, a documentary on BMX bandits, enthusiasts, and collectors, Diamond and John Philippus. BMX Wow, an appreciation from Eric Trenchard Smith. BMX for Life, a documentary on the world BMX champion and manager of Australian BMX Museum and Hall of Fame Cameron Mitchell. Oh, wow, okay. $1,000 interview with Eric Munns on bikes and stunts in BMX Bandits. Knew the location of BMX Bandits with Flynn Boffo. Audio commentary with director Brian Trenchard Smith, BMX Buddies, The Men Behind Bandits documentary, Nicole Kidman's appearance on Young Talent Time. I would have loved for them to have gotten an interview with Nicole Kidman, but I understand she may have been a little bit above their pay grade. You know what I mean? She's kind of a big star, kind of a big thing. Also, she is super busy. Over the last several years, is uh, Nicole Kidman's been in so many different projects, movies, like TV miniseries, TV series, just doing a lot of work, constantly working. I mean, she's had personal things going on in her life. I believe she's gotten divorced over the last year or so. A lot of things happening. A lot of things happening. Um, um, Yeah, it's let me see if I can find information on Rad. Since I can't get it from their website, perhaps I'll be able to find it on Blu-ray.com. Let me see if it's even available on here. I may just go to oh, here it is. Let's see if I can get some information on it. Bum. Yeah, here we go. Rad Collector's Edition Blu-ray. Because they did put out a Blu-ray a year ago, so this is not the same information. I may have to go. Yeah, because let's see. I'm trying to think of where I can go to get the information. Oh, here it is. Thank goodness for the Blu-ray.com forums. So coming out June 3rd, Rad is getting a 4K UHD collector's edition release from Umbrella. Like I said, you can't currently pre-order from their website if you're from the US. That you can't even get access to the page. It's just not there. But certain online boutique labels, uh, certain online retailers that carry boutique labels probably will have it in stock. Orbit DVD, Diabolic DVD, those types of websites will probably have it in stock in June. So let's get into. Let's see. I'll just read this here. Might as well. Powered by synth anthems and real BMX talent, Rad was director and stunt legend Hal Needham's action skills on full explosive display. Set in the quiet logging town of Cochrane, Crew Jones lives and breathes BMX. When the elite Hell Track race rolls into town, backed by big money sponsors and ruthless promoters, Crew sees his one shot to prove he belongs among the sport's best. But standing in his way are national champions, corporate interests eager to control the narrative, and pressure from his family to choose a more conventional path. With the support of fellow riders, Crew is determined to qualify for Hell Track and race on his own terms. What follows is a high energy showdown of dirt, danger, and defiance as heart collides with horsepower in one of the most iconic final races in 80s sports cinema. Winning isn't just about the podium, but about refusing to let anyone else define your ride. Excuse me, here as my eyes already are drying out. Let's see. Only available from the Umbrella Web Store and independent retailers, the Rad Collector's Edition includes a 48-page book of behind-the-scenes material and essays by Justin Beam, Kristen Bowe, and David Michael Brown. Original art rigid case, custom illustration slipcase, 8 art cards, reversible poster, limited edition numbered release. There's a new audio commentary with filmmakers Jorma Tacone and Jared Hess. Then how did this get made live episode on Rad with Jason Mantzoukas, June Diane Raphael, and Paul Scheer as audio over the film. So it's kind of like an audio commentary type of situation. Riding Rad, an interview with BMX legend Bob Morales. Backflips and broken arms, an interview with BMX rider and actor Rick Moliterno. A Rad documentary trailer, audio commentary with actor Talia Shire and Robert Schwartzman. I forgot, Talia Shire plays the mom in this movie. And there's an audio commentary with introduction by actor Bill Allen, a Rad documentary from 2025. The Stuntman directs extended documentary interview excerpts with director Hal Needham. Archival interview with actor Bart Connor, writer Sam Bernard, BMX riders Martin Aparicio, Eddie Fiola, and Jeremy Mosier. Q&A with screenwriter Sam Bernard and actors Bill Allen, Talia Shire, and Bart Connor, hosted by Jorma Tacone. Original EPK behind-the-scenes featurette, original EPK interviews, John Farnham, Break the Ice music video, trailers, and the discs are authored by Fidelity in Motion. So this is a pretty stacked release. Now, the reason being why you can't order it, like I said, if you're in the US directly from Umbrella, is because Vinegar Syndrome already owns the 4K rights here in the US. That's basically the reason being. Um, Chances are many of you have that release already. It's been out for, I think, a year or so, maybe a little longer. So chances are you probably have Rad on 4K already. But if you don't, this one is available this coming June. The Vinegar Syndrome one, I believe, is still available to get. It could be out of print by this point. Ironically, if I will be on Vinegar Syndrome's website later on. But yeah, so that's BMX Bandits as well as Rad. So two, you know, extreme sports related 1980s movies. Something I do want to make note of, Rad, directed by Hal Needham. Hal Needham famously was he was a stunt coordinator, or at least he did stunts. Let me look up. I want to say he was a stunt coordinator turned director, and famously he worked with Burt Reynolds in the 70s. I want to say Hal Needham was Burt Reynolds' like stunt man. Yeah, was an American stuntman, film director, actor, writer, and NASCAR team owner. He best known for his frequent collaborations with actor Burt Reynolds, usually in films involving fast cars such as Smokey and the Bandit, Hooper, Cannonball Run, and Stroker Ace. Um, yeah, yeah. So Hal Needham, very famous. Want to make note of that. So what else do we have cooking here? Um, yeah. What else do we have cooking here? Like I said, so we did Hammer. We did Film Treasures with their release of Elevator, which is a great title. We just did The Two Umbrellas. We did The Western with The Substitute. Got Tom Berenger beating up people in inner city schools. And let's see. There is Altered Innocence has a release called A Body to Live In. I always like to bring up Altered Innocence, because they put out some really interesting movies. Let's see if I can find it. Hmm. I found it. Um, if I can find some information on it, that would be even better. Okay, so I can find a synopsis for it, but no, I don't think there's any. Let me see if I can go to Altered Innocence website. I don't even know if they. Let's see. I never remember how to spell the word innocence. It's one of those ones that always gets me. I never remember if there's two N's or one N or whatever. Let's see. Okay, they're a little bit behind on their website, so that's not very helpful. Um, let me go to. Actually, I'll just go with the synopsis for right now, just for the sake of time. So A Body to Live In is a movie from 2025, and Alter Innocence is putting out a Blu-ray release of it. It says, this is the synopsis. Fakir Musafar explored gender fluidity and enlightenment through extreme body modification. He pioneered body modern primitives, blending global spiritual practices with sexuality, a legendary figure in kink culture. So I don't know if this is a documentary or what this is. Let me see if I can go to the IMDb. And it just gives me the same exact synopsis. Doesn't tell me anything. Nope, same exact thing. It's coming out in a theatrical release on February 27th. Well, it already did. Okay, so that's already happened in Canada. Um, see if I do have a link to the official website of the movie. It says it's coming to theaters near you. Okay, so none of this is helpful. A Body to Live In. That's the name of the movie. Um, it's about um body uh changes, things like that, of various forms. Alternate Innocence primarily deals with movies in the LGBTQ plus genre of films, queer cinema, stuff like that. So this will be, I'm assuming, in that realm. That would be a pretty safe guess. So sorry for the lack of information there. I just put it on the list and sometimes I forget to actually look these things up to see if I have any information about it. But what I do have information of is Kino. So let me go over to Kino and get a list of their things. Here we go. Not much in the way of Kino for this time, for this episode here, but we will go through it nonetheless. There is still right now, I believe, a 50% off Kino Lorber sale at Barnes and Noble and barnesandnoble.com, as well as a Radiant sale, 50% off Radiant's film sale as well. So I believe that goes till March 9th. So there's still time because it is the 3rd. So if you want to pick up some Kino or you want to pick up some Radiance releases, 50% off at barnesandnoble.com. That's a little something. I talked about it last time. I thought it's worth mentioning again since the sale is still going on. But coming May 12th on 4K UHD is a Charles Bronson film. It's Rider on the Rain. Charles Bronson and Marlena Jobert. And this movie is an interesting film. So 2-disc edition, one 4K, one Blu-ray. Let's see. The synopsis is from Renee Clement, the legendary director of Forbidden Games, Joy House, and Is Paris Burning, comes this stylish thriller starring screen legend Charles Bronson. When a beautiful young woman um, in the south of France is stalked and then assaulted by a mysterious masked assailant, she kills the man in self-defense, and in a moment of misjudgment, she dumps his corpse over a cliff into the sea instead of calling the police. Trying to return to her life before the attack, her world is turned upside down when an American investigator, Charles Bronson, shows up and, to her horror, seems to know everything, and seems to know everything. Rider on the Range showcases fine performances both from Bronson, whose mix of sympathy and aggression perfectly defines his character, and Jobert, who gains audiences' empathy with her touch of sexuality mixed with an innate, almost childlike innocence. I, kind of, yeah. I don't know if that's exactly accurate, but whatever. Featuring a haunting and beautiful score by Francis Lay, with wonderful supporting performances by Gabrielle Tinti, and Jill Ireland. Um, that's the movie Rider on the Rain. Um, and yeah, so this movie it's not even a who done it. It's not even a who done it because we know who done it. we see the actions happen in this movie Rider on the Rain. We see the woman get attacked by this mysterious like serial sex maniac man, and then we see her kill him, get rid of the body, and then the rest of the movie, it's like this cat and mouse game between Charles Bronson and this woman, where she vehemently keeps denying and denying and denying that she killed this person, and Charles Bronson is seemingly just keeps kind of goading her to try to get her to confess the whole time through various means, and that's the movie. That's pretty much the movie. It's a little frustrating at times because we already know the inevitability of the information, and the movie just kind of repetitiously kind of goes over and over and over again. So the movie feel like a little pacing wise, it gets stuck in the mud a little bit. But I'm a big fan of Charles Bronson, especially Charles Bronson's 70s work. I think is really really good. His kind of pre-Death Wish stuff I really really like, and then his 80s stuff gets way more exploitative and silly. He starts doing canon movies and stuff like that. And then you get all the Death Wish sequels, which I don't know if you've ever seen Death Wish 3. It's maniacally over the top. But yeah. Um it's but yeah, the Rider on the Rain. Now in the IMDb trivia, um there was a little thing I found interesting in it, as apparently Jim Morrison from The Doors liked this movie so much that it inspired him to write the song "Riders on the Storm," which is famously one of The Doors' most famous songs ever. I believe it's on "L.A. Woman," which was their last album before Jim Morrison passed away in 1973. And I find that fascinating if it is indeed true. I mean, the titles kind of line up with one another, if you will. I after watching the movie, I don't understand how this movie could inspire such a cool song because if you've ever heard Riders on the Storm, it's like it's such a cool rhythmy song, bluesy song. That whole album, LA Woman, is very bluesy in general, but Riders on the Storm, one of my favorite songs. But I thought that was a little interesting trivia there. Let's get into what is actually on this disc and on this release of Rider on the Rain. So, brand new UHD SDR master of the American cut from a 4K scan of the 35mm original camera negative. Audio commentary by film historians Howard S. Berger, Steve Mitchell, and Nathaniel Thompson. That's on disc one, and then disc two is a 2021 UHD SDR master of the French cut of the movie from a 4K scan of the 35mm original camera negative. Now, I don't know what the difference is between the American cut and the French cut. I did not do that research. I apologize for that. There is an audio commentary on this second disc by Alexandra Nicholas and Josh Nelson. And that's it. So you get a commentary for the American cut, and a commentary for the French cut of the movie. So you actually have two 4K discs. Two 4K discs. That's nice. That's actually very nice because usually sometimes they'll just do a 4K disc for one cut of the movie, and then the Blu-ray disc will have just a Blu-ray version of the other cut of the movie, depending on the movie, of course. But in this case, no, we have 4K discs for both cuts of the movie. So that is Rider on the Rain from 1970, coming out May 12th. Next, we've got a movie called Counselor at Crime, also known as Il Consigliere. Oh boy, my Italian's rough. Il Consigliere slash Counselor. Now, let me actually look up the synopsis of this. Let's see, I have IMDb up. Let's see what IMDb gives us. And if it's a crappy synopsis, we'll go to Letterboxd. Let me say Counselor at Crime. I almost forgot what the title of the movie we were talking about is. Counselor at Crime. Here we go. Okay, we got ourselves a decent, actually a very long synopsis here. Well, I'm trying to open up the rest of the synopsis and it's frozen. Great. Great. Absolutely great. As if my computer doesn't realize that I can't be sitting here waiting. When the godson of San Francisco's crime lord asks permission to leave the business, Don Antonio agrees but reluctantly. Such behavior by either one is a violation of the code, and a bloody mob war breaks out. It is only through the strong support of his family connections in Sicily that Don Antonio is able to survive the melee and come out on top. Aghast at the situation he has caused, the godson becomes his leader's consigliere or counselor at crime. Okay, that sounds pretty cool. That sounds actually pretty cool. So this says coming soon on Blu-ray and potentially on 4K UHD. So it says brand new UHD SDR master. So that's Counselor at Crime. Thomas Million, Martin Balsam's in the film. That's it. Yeah, that's it. So could be a 4K, could not be a 4K, could be a Blu-ray. We don't know if it's coming out this year, next year, whenever. Something that's also we don't know if it could be a 4K or a Blu-ray. It says coming soon on Blu-ray and potentially on 4K UHD. Brand new UHD SDR master of Weapons of Death from 1977, also known as Napoli Spara or Napoli Spara. Yet again, cool title, Weapons of Death, 1977. It says a police commissioner tries to bring a gangster to justice as the kingpin's out-of-control crimes set even his own underworld allies against him. Oh. Yet again, 1970s Italian organized crime movie. Yet again, there's no date on this, nothing like that. Weapons of Death. So moving on from there, we do have now this we do have information on because this is not the first time that this movie's received an HD release. This is the Charles Bronson film from 1983 called 10 to Midnight. And this has come out a couple of times. Let me get up let me actually take a gander to see how many times this movie has actually come out. I know there was a Twilight Time release a little while ago. I think there's been oh boy, there's been a couple of releases. I think that's a shout. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So 10 to Midnight originally got a Blu-ray release in 2015 from Twilight Time. And then it got a release in 2019 from Shout Factory. That's still in print, actually. Okay. And then now there is a 4K release that is coming out of this movie. Um, I'm actually curious how the Shout Factory release is still in print if we're getting a Kino release. But anywho, who cares? So 10 to Midnight, Charles Bronson. As the clock ticks 10 to midnight, Bronson is back on the streets with a vengeance. That's where you want Charles Bronson, on the streets. Serving up vigilante justice as only he can. Tough guy legend Charles Bronson delivers one of his most riveting performances in this canon films classic that's slick, suspenseful, and scary. Bronson is Leo Kessler, a cynical LA cop on the trail of a cunning psycho. Uh, whose genius for concocting airtight alibis is surpassed only by the horror of his erotic crimes. But the killer makes a fatal mistake, choosing the cop's spunky daughter as his number one target and forcing Kessler to go rogue. Um, yeah, this is basically. I remember I saw this a little while ago, actually. Um, he plays this no nonsense badass cop, plays by nobody's rules, Charles Bronson, and who's going after this killer who uh, doesn't leave any evidence at the crime scene. Doesn't leave any evidence at the crime scene, so it makes things a little tougher for him to do. But once um, the killer is going after his daughter, it brings everything a little close to home, obviously. And Charles Bronson is on the case. That's 10 to midnight. So for special features here, there's two discs. The first disc is the 4K UHD disc. It's a brand new HDR Dolby Vision Master from a 4K scan of the 35mm original camera negative. Is an audio commentary by film historian Paul Talbot, the author of Bronson's Loose. That's the book, which I've always wanted that book. Audio commentary by producer Pancho Connor, casting director John Crowther, and film historian David Dalval. Disc 2 is brand new HDR master of the movie, same thing as before. Same two commentaries, a couple of special features. Charles Partner interview with actor Andrew Stevens. Producing Bronson interview with producer Lance Hool. Remembering Bronson interview with actor Robert F. Lyons. Knife and Death interview with actress Jean Thomasina. Radio spots, theatrical trailer, and that is it for 10 to midnight. That's coming out May 12th on 4K UHD. If you're a fan of Charles Bronson, you may want to pick that up. So that's about it, actually. That is about it from Kino. Like I said, not a lot in the way of announcements over the last 2 weeks or so. Uh, but there's still a lot of Kino things that are coming out this month already. This year. So we've got stuff pretty much now through May, as you can tell, for Kino. Once again, 50% off Kino sale currently happening at Barnes and Noble. So let me see what else we've got here. No, let me go to Severin. I was gonna do Eureka and then Arrow, but then I'll do Severin, Eureka, Arrow, and then we'll hit Vinegar Syndrome and their partner labels. So, and I didn't get to watch. Like I said, I've been sick for the last week. I'm struggling through this episode here, so I didn't get to watch a lot of stuff to prepare here. That's why this is a little truncated. Excuse me. Um. Interesting. Hold on, please excuse me for a second. No. For some reason, my phone wasn't updating my sports scores. Don't know why. Um, I'm let's see, but Severin had some announcements. Severin had three main announcements, and then there was one here that wasn't really an announcement, but I still watched the movie anyway, so I wanted to talk about it. But so the three announcements from Severin. One is there's a box set, a 3-disc box set called Suzanna, Empress of Darkness. Then there's two other releases. Um, as a Jess Franco from Bangkok with Bullets. That's a 2-film set, I believe. And then there's Voices from Beyond. It's a 3-disc 4K UHD set as well. So let's start with the box set. Yeah, Suzanna, Empress of Darkness. So from Severin Films, our friends over at Severin doing good box sets like they always do. Let's see, 6 films on 3 discs featuring the North American disc premieres of 4 Suzanna horror classics, plus her final feature film and the award-winning documentary Suzanna, the Queen of Black Magic. So this is once again a, a comprehensive Blu-ray set from Severin. So let me read. I'll read this paragraph here. Why not? She's known as an icon, a cult legend, and inspiration for modern scream queens. Nearly 2 decades after her passing, she remains Indonesia's ultimate queen of horror. In this 3-disc, 6-film collection, discover Susanna for the very first time, or as you've never experienced her before. In Pact with the Forces of Darkness, Susanna stars as a woman who returns from the dead for violent revenge. Complete with knockoff Freddy Krueger glove, Susanna portrays a regal reptile empress and her mortal twin sister in The Wild White Crocodile Queen. Um, Malam Satu Suro and Kliwon Friday Night both star Susanna in her most famous role as the grisly ghost of feminist vengeance. Sundo Bolong and in Sundo Bolong. That's the grisly ghost of feminist vengeance. And in the fascinating Severin Films documentary Suzanne, the Queen of Black Magic, director David Gregory peels back every starting layer of her controversial life, death, and legacy. The 4 Soraya productions have been scanned in 2K from their original camera negatives in English-friendly versions for the first time ever in America, with over 3 hours of special features that include revealing interviews, expert analysis, and Susanna's final form, Ghost Ambulance. Disc 1 has Packed with the Forces of Darkness / White Crocodile Queen. Um, let's see, special features. So disc 1 doesn't have special features, but disc 2, which has Malam Satu Soro Kliwon Friday Night, has a special feature of Hantu Retribution, or female ghosts of the Malay Archipelago, interview with filmmaker Katrina Irawata Graham and her Dr. Rosalind Galt, author of Alluring Monsters, the Pontianak and Cinemas of Decolonization. My mind is not well enough to be pronouncing these things. Disc 3 is Suzanne, the Queen of Black Magic / Ghost Ambulance. And this has 2 special features, actually 1 special feature. No, 2, sorry. A conversation with director / co-producer David Gregory and co-producer Eki Imanaya. And then David Gregory introduction at Jakarta Film Week screening from October of 2024. And then that's it. That's it. Okay. That's that box set of Suzanna, Empress of Darkness. So what's that? What did I say? 6 films on 3 discs? Yes. Let's see. Next is the Jess Franco, and these are 2 movies. Excuse me for one moment. Sorry, multitasking. Probably shouldn't be multitasking during the show. Um, but let's move on to the Jess Franco release here. Um, let's see. It's interesting pull quotes here. In 1985, writer director Jess Franco briefly stepped away from horror and erotica to focus on several adventure thrillers that combined elements of his earlier Eurospy and Fu Manchu hits with this sardonic wit and love for exotic settings. But having no budget for foreign locales, he instead sent cinematographer Juan Soler to Thailand to shoot a few days of exteriors, which became the foundation for two of Uncle Jess's most surprising and rarely seen Spanish productions of the decade. In the worldwide Blu-ray premiere of Trip to Bangkok, Coffin included, Franco-verse legend Howard Vernon stars as a cantankerous British agent on the trail of a creepy cult leader in the worldwide disc premiere of Bangkok Date with Death. Jess unleashes a pop art crime spree of pirates, kidnappers, and kung fu killers starring his beloved muse Lena Romay. Both films have been scanned in 4K from their original camera negatives, complete with all new appreciation by Stephen Thrower, and parts 14 and 15 of In the Land of Franco, held by Mono Digital as Severin's ongoing featurettes that now constitute the most intense and valuable survey of filmmakers' locations in history. Um, so, if you've been collecting the Jess Franco film releases from Severin for long enough, each of them have like a little part of this ongoing documentary about Jess Franco and stuff like that. So there's 15 of these up until this release. So that's a lot of Jess Franco to go around. Like I've been saying here on Chasing Labels for the last year or two, everybody seemingly gets a Jess Franco film. We've seen Jess Franco films being released by Severin, by Vinegar Syndrome. Kino's put out a couple of Jess Franco films. It's like everybody gets a Jess Franco film. But let's get into the special features here. I didn't get to watch these movies. I apologize. Like I said, I'm so far off my game here for Chasing Labels for this episode. I'm going through the motions right now. It's getting increasingly tougher as the show is going on to keep my sanity here. Disc one, disc one is the Blu-ray for Trip to Bangkok, Coffin included. Filmmaking on the Run interview with film writer slash bit player slash assistant director Carlos Agi, Aguilar. Colonel Blimp in Bangkok interview with Stephen Thrower, author of Flowers of Perversion, Delirious Cinema of Jess Franco. Then, of course, you get In the Land of Franco, Part 14, that documentary I was just talking about. Then, disc two is the Blu ray of Bangkok, Date with Death. Carrara in Bangkok interview with Stephen Thrower, author of Flowers of Perversion, The Delirious Cinema of Jess Franco. There are so many books by so many of these contributors that I've been wanting to get, and I completely forget about them. Um, I need a list. I don't know if I can find that anywhere. A list of like all of these contributors to these boutique labels and the various books that they've written over the years. I would love to get them to add to my collection. Um, but Bangkok back to back interview with film scholar Alex Mendibile in the Land of Franco Part 15. So if you're a fan of Jess Franco, here's some more of his movies in Jess Franco from Bangkok with Bullets, 2-disc Blu-ray collection with limited edition slipcover. It's available to pre-order on severinfilms.com website. Yeah. Voices from Beyond, 3-disc 4K UHD with a limited slipcover plus a soundtrack CD. Oh, let's see. Excuse me. Worldwide UHD premiere 3-disc collection with soundtrack CD. Oh yeah. So this is a big one. This is the penultimate film from writer director Lucio Fulci. I think this came out 1991. 1989. I probably should have looked this up, but um, it's the penultimate film from Lucio Fulci before he passed. The penultimate film from writer director Lucio Fulci, in ill health and likely knowing the end was near, is the highlight of his Twilight era, a classic return to the formula that made his earlier work so incredible, and presented in UHD for the first time ever when the scion of a wealthy family dies under shocking circumstances, every year as a motive for murder. But will the restless spirit of the deceased now seek vengeance from beyond the grave? Um, Karina Huff, Pascal Pergiano, and Lorenzo Flaherty star with a juicy cameo by the maestro himself in the movie that shows Fulci could still do it. Co-written by Pier Ragnoli, from a short story by Fulci with gore effects by Pino Ferranti, um, and a score by Stelvio Cipriani. Newly scanned in 4K from the original camera negative with over an hour of special features and a bonus soundtrack CD. So if you are a Fulci completist, a Lucio Fulci completist, and you need to get all of his movies, you obviously need to get this release. Ironically, is I think I've got a Severin Lucio Fulci release right next to me. If I can get it here. Um, no, I don't. No, I don't. I need to get more Fulci. I thought I did. I have another release. You know what I need to get? Is Lucio Fulci's The Beyond. That is currently in one of my various carts that I need to get that. It's literally one of the best releases of last year. So, disc 1 is just the movie. Disc 2 is a Blu-ray of the movie plus special features. The special features are About Death audio interview with Lucio Fulci, Beyond the Living interview with actor Pascal Pergiano, a House for the Dead interview with set designer and Antonello Geleng, Like a Father interview with prop master Vincenzo Luzzi, Lucio's Last Wave interview with Stephen Thrower, author of Beyond Terror, the films of Lucio Fulci. Disc 3 is the CD soundtrack, which Severin's been known to do that in many of their releases. I mean, it's kind of their hallmark, really. They've been doing that for many, many years, for as long as we've been covering them here on Chasing Labels. Um, they've been including CD soundtracks in their releases. It's kind of a unique thing. No one else really does that. I don't think anybody else really bothers with getting the rights to the soundtrack. There must be an extra cost. Uh, yeah, I would assume that's an extra rights cost to get the CD soundtrack or the music score for the, because that's usually a different company that you have to deal with. Usually, music rights are a whole other different thing. If you know anything about like television or television on home video, music rights are a big thing with that. I'm not quite sure how it works with movies, specifically older catalog movies, but I can tell you with TV shows, it is an absolute mess. Even to this day, some TV show home video releases are a mess because of being unable to clear music rights. Especially the 90s, where a lot of popular music was used. In the 2000s, a lot of popular music was used. You've got to go and get the rights to that stuff. But we're talking movies here. Please excuse me as I delve into um, TV show stuff. That's a topic for a different time, for a different show that doesn't currently exist on Chasing Labels. But that is Voices from Beyond, a film by Lucio Fulci, getting a 4K UHD release. They've got a couple of other Fulci films, if I do recall. Let me just take a quick look at see what other Fulci films they've got. Um, I know they've got the Devil's Honey, The Psychic, Demonia is a Lucio Fulci film. I think Enigma. Yeah, Enigma is another Fulci film. These are just all from Severin, just off the top of my head. And the fact that I'm on their website. Don't let me fool you here. I'm looking up all this stuff as I go along. So that is it from Severin. So just once more with feeling. We have the Suzanna Empress of Darkness, the Blu-ray box set. We've got Jess Franco from Bangkok with Bullets, the double feature from Jess Franco. And then Voices from Beyond, the 3-disc 4K UHD release of Lucio Fulci's penultimate film. Excuse me. I'm not well. Um, so that's it for Severin. Now we will go to Eureka. Let's go to Eureka, shall we? So Eureka has 3 announcements coming from their May releases. So Eureka Entertainment has announced its May batch of releases. They are Cecile is Dead from 1944, Trace of Stones from 1966, and The General from 1926. Now, The General has been released a couple of times. The General is a famous movie from the great Buster Keaton. It's probably one of his most famous films. And Buster Keaton, one of my all-time favorites. To me, obviously, the 3 of the biggest silent era actors, filmmakers, stars, if you will: Buster Keaton, Harold Lloyd, and Charlie Chaplin. Whoever is your favorite is your favorite. Who cares? I like Charlie Chaplin a lot. I think his filmography is really good. Modern Times, The Gold Rush, The Great Dictator, so many. But Buster Keaton is the more action-based guy, in my opinion. He's the one who did these massive stunts, like in The General. Like he's like on the front of a train, like a moving train. Like it's nuts. Now I have. Let me hold on for 1 second. I have a couple of Buster Keaton Blu-rays in my collection. Let me get them. So the ones I have are the Blu-rays put out by the Cohen Media, and they put out these double features, a couple of years ago. Where I believe they had new remasters at the time, but like I said, they've been Buster Keaton's work has been released a few times. Eureka's put them out over in the UK. Kino's put out like box sets of Buster Keaton stuff, years ago, before Kino became the way they are now. Before then, they put out a bunch of stuff. But I've got these. Are the Buster Keaton. Yeah, the Cohen Film Collection. It presents the Buster Keaton Collections Volumes 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think I gotta check to see if there's another one. I shouldn't be doing this during the show, but I'm all over the place. Let's see, Cohen Media Collection. But maybe I put Buster Keaton Collection. I know that's gonna get me down a. Yeah, there is a volume 5. Okay, there's a volume 5 that I don't have. That's the one. I think that's the one I'm missing. I gotta go back and log some of these actually on Blu-ray.com, but that's neither here nor there. So volume 1, yeah. So the most recent one was put out in 2023, and so I need to get volume 5. But these collections here I have, and the first one happens to have The General. It has The General and Steamboat Bill Jr., which is another one that's well known amongst Buster Keaton's filmography. And these releases here, like I said, I believe these were from New Masters. Yeah, new 4K restorations of 2 of Buster Keaton's greatest works, both featuring orchestral scores by Carl Davis. Let's see, disc features is a reflection on The General, Buster Keaton, The Luminary, and then trailers for both films. Okay, not much there, but honestly, it's more about the movies than anything. Yeah, just a single disc with both movies on it. And like I said, I've got volumes 2, 3, and 4 as well. Volume 2 has Sherlock Jr. and The Navigator, and then Volume 3 has Seven Chances, and Battling Butler, and then Volume 4 has Go West and College. So these are the ones that I have. Like I said, there are various Buster Keaton collections out there. Let's see what's on this Eureka release. Actually, I'll scroll down and go straight to that. Why not? So the general. So this is getting a 4K Blu-ray. Right away, it's already an upgrade over what I have. So Buster Keaton was arguably the greatest comedian of the silent era and certainly one of the funniest and most talented performers to ever work in the movie business. The General is his masterpiece, co-directed, co-written, co-produced, and starring Buster Keaton. It is a side-splitting document of a comedy genius at the peak of his boasts and some of the finest slapstick and set pieces ever committed to film. Western and Atlantic Railroad train engineer Johnny Gray, Buster Keaton, loves two things: his sweetheart Annabelle and his prized locomotive, the General. When the Civil War breaks out, Johnny intends to enlist in the Confederate Army, but is rejected, ending his budding relationship with Annabelle as the war rages on. Though spies working for the Union steal Johnny's beloved engine and inadvertently kidnap Annabelle, leading him to doggedly pursue them both across enemy lines. Featuring what is perhaps the most thrilling chase sequence ever committed to film. The General is a perennial classic and stands with the very finest examples of silent comedy, including Charlie Chaplin's City Lights, Harold Lloyd's Safety Last, and Keaton's own Sherlock Jr. The Masters of Cinema series is honored to present The General on 4K Blu-ray for the first time in the UK. So, this is previously restored in 4K, so I'm assuming it's the same masters that have been around for the Blu-rays. That's my assumption. And I think they've put this. I think Eureka's already put this out before on Blu-ray, so probably taking from the masters that they have. Uh, there's a score by Carl Davis. There's a new audio commentary by film historian David Callett. New video essay on the General by Imogen Sarah Smith, author of Buster Keaton: The Persistent Comedy. New video essay on locomotives in films of Buster Keaton by film critic and editor Luke Bryan. Interview with film scholar Peter Kramer. Introduction by Orson Welles. Introduction by Gloria Swanson. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. That those two intros in and of itself, even if they're less than a minute long, is worth its weight in gold to me. Uh, uh, Orson Welles and Gloria Swanson. Tour of filming locations featurette, video tour archival featurette, home movie footage, limited edition O card slipcase, and then limited edition booklet as well. Coming out May 18th. That is the all-time classic, The General, the Buster Keaton film. Truly an all-time classic. If you love silent cinema, it's kind of a must. I think any Buster Keaton is really a must if you're a fan of silent cinema, like myself. But let's get into the other two releases here from Eureka. We have Cecile is Dead. Now, Cecile is Dead is a like French noir, actually. So, an unsung master of French cinema meets an undisputed master of detective fiction in Cecile is Dead, as Maurice Tournier brings George Simenon's crime novel to the screen. Simenon's beloved sleuth, Inspector Maigret, appeared in 75 novels and 28 short stories written over 5 decades, along with innumerable radio, film, and television adaptations. And here Tournier directs one of the very finest among them. Okay? Inspector Maigret of the Parisian police has recently been bothered rather too often by Cecile Pardon, who insists on speaking to him every few days. Each time she reports to Maigret that someone has been breaking into the house she shares with her elderly aunt late at night, but the inspector is much too busy investigating a gang of counterfeiters to look into her fanciful claims. He can't ignore Cecile for long, though, for Cecile is soon dead, murdered in the very same police station in which she has been pleading for his help. One of 3 Inspector Maigret's films made in occupied France during World War II, Cecile is Dead boasts noir cinematography by Pierre Montezet, art direction by Guy D'Agostine, a on-set designer for Marcel Herbier, and René Clair, and music by Roger Dumas. Who scored Tournier's The Devil's Hand. The Masters of Cinema series is proud to present this French crime classic on Blu-ray, marking its first release on home video in the UK. Previously restored by Gaumont, Original French mono audio, English subtitles, introduction to the film by Christine Leteau, author of Maurice Tournier, oh boy, Réalisateur Sans Frontières, new audio commentary by crime cinema expert Sergio Angelini, host of the Tipping My Fedora podcast. My friend Maigret, new discussion of Inspector Maigret from page to screen with film historian Martin Hall. And then there's a limited edition booklet as well. So yeah, this movie is an interesting, like I said, French noir, made during occupied France during World War II, which, like I said, I'm very surprised there was much of a movie industry in France during World War II at all. If you are any bit aware of World War II, France was occupied by Germany during that war for a good portion of it, and there was partial French government going on. Of course, there was the French resistance. It just a lot of other things going on during that time where you would think movies were not being made. Uh, but needless to say, this movie was made during that time, and like the synopsis suggests, is the movie ends up becoming a whodunit, which is of course a classic film noir trope, murder mystery, if you will. And with a bit of a twist, because that little bit of a twist that was in the description doesn't happen until quite a ways into the movie. Um, and it's very rather interesting the twists and turns this movie takes. Uh, at times, specifically during its third act, I think it takes too many twists and turns to the point where I got lost as a viewer, to the point where I thought, like, am I watching the same movie? Like the third act of this movie takes such a like it goes in a direction, not that it goes in a weird direction, but it so, but like the plot changes to the point where I'm like, is this the same movie? Did something change with it? And I got very confused and with the whole third act. But anywho, the movie's pretty solid. The movie's rather solid. I mean, and also they kind of spoil the little twist in the title of the movie. Um, but anywho, let's move on to Trace of Stones. Trace of Stones in the mid 1960s, 11 films produced by the DEFA, the state operated film studio of the German Democratic Republic, were either pulled from theaters or barred from release due to their supposedly anti socialist themes. The most infamous of these films was Trace of Stones, an intense and accomplished political drama directed by one of East Germany's most talented filmmakers, Frank Bayer, who directed Jakob the Liar, which we've talked about here on Chasing Labels. Um, Hans Bala is the bullish leader of a crew on an East German work site, is not averse to indulging in some questionable tactics, including the theft of scarce materials, if it will keep his projects on track. In order to tame, in order to tame, hold on. In order to tame Bala, the ruling Socialist Unity Party installs Secretary Werner Horath to oversee the site's day-to-day operations. At the same time, a new engineer arrives, Kathy Klee, a lone woman in an all-male environment. As a love triangle develops between Klee, Bala, and Horath, tensions, both personal and political, threaten to boil over. Interesting. A nuanced exploration of the everyday workings of socialism in practice, Trace of Stones was perceived as an attack on the GDR's national ideology and withdrawn from cinemas in 1966. Frank Bayer did not direct another feature film until 1975, while Trace of Stones was suppressed until the fall of the Berlin Wall. Wow. The Masters of Cinema series is proud to present the extraordinary film available on Blu-ray for the first time. So this movie is restored by the DEFA. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, so I've got so Eureka's been doing these box sets of post World War II German films. And they've been doing ones based on these film studio DEFA, which I believe is the East German part of Germany of that time, which existed all the way up until the fall of the Berlin Wall in what 1990, 1991. But anywho, I've got this box set. I bring this out every single time now. Um, Wreck and Ruin, the Rubble film at DEFA, because this is one of Eureka's box sets that they've been putting out of these, like I said, post World War II German films. Um, they've been doing ones for West Germany and they've been doing ones for East Germany as well. I've got to get my hands on a couple of the others. I think the limited edition of this Strange New World, I think that's out of print, and that I can't find that thing anywhere. But anywho, um, this is one of the box sets. This is a DEFA box set from Eureka. Let's see. Let me see what we have here for special features. Let me close some of these tabs. Yeah, restored by DEFA, original German audio, English subtitles, the 11th Plenum, a cultural devastation, substantial archival documentary on the 11th Plenum, which resulted in the banning of several DEFA productions, including Trace of Stones. Trace of Time director Frank Bayer, feature-length archival documentary on Trace of Stones director Frank Bayer, widely recognized as one of the most important East German filmmakers. Children's Home, a DEFA documentary on the residents of an East German children's home banned until after the fall of the Berlin Wall. Wow. Um, Historical stuff here. Historical stuff. So yeah, I'm very interested in Trace of Stones. Like this just kind of shot up as to like a higher priority of stuff of something I want to get this year. Yeah, I would really love. Yeah, I would really love to buy this and watch this and definitely delve into these special features here to give certain historical, cultural context to this film as well as other stuff going on in East Germany up until the fall of the Berlin Wall. Um, so that's Trace of Stones. So these are all coming out May 18th. These are all UK releases. So I'm pretty sure these are all region B locked, except for the General, which is a 4K release. So that'll be region free. But Trace of Stones will be region B locked, as well as Cecile is Dead. So yeah. But if you have a region free player, you're fine. You're fine. Uh, so that is Cecile is Dead, Trace of Stones, The General. These are all your Eureka releases, and now we shall make our way over to Arrow Video in their releases. Yes. So Arrow announced their May titles. Arrow's had a really great year so far. Arrow's had a really awesome release year. Excuse me. Continuing their awesome release year from last year. Excuse me. Um, and this people are a little disappointed with this month's announcements. But I'm like, you can't be A plus every month. I mean, come on. you can't be you got to take a month off here and there a little bit. Um um oh, here we go. So there's a before I continue with that, there is a comment here that is very interesting from our friend Acres of Movies. Hello and thanks from Stacy. What would be your ranking for the Scream movies from best to worst? So I haven't seen Scream 7 yet. Like I said, Acres of Movies, I don't know if you were chimed in a little bit earlier, but I've been sick for like the last week. And plus we got a massive blizzard here. So I've been stuck in my home and sick for over the last week or so. So I haven't been able to do pretty much anything other than read and watch television. But anywho, um, and watch movies, of course. But Scream 7 did come out this week. And of course, continuing the Wes Craven series. It started back in 1995, with its now seventh movie. But for me, I'd have to go. For me, number one, Scream. The first Scream is number one. Um, to be honest, it's kind of one and two is at the top. Let me get the Scream movies out. Hold on. I'm trying to remember them. So okay. So to me, it's Scream 2, um, maybe Scream 6. Scream 6 I liked a lot better than Scream 5. Yeah. So it would probably be Scream 2, Scream 6, Scream 5, Scream 4, and then Scream 3. I Scream 3 is still not great. Something like that. It's been years since I've rewatched all of them. I've been wanting to actually rewatch them and then watch Scream 7. So that's just my mind right now. Um, to me, Scream 3 is probably the weakest of the original three. Um, Scream 5, I wasn't a big fan of. Um, I really didn't. I really wasn't a big fan of. Um, Scream 4, I think actually gets better as time goes on, in my opinion. It's still a little ridiculous who ends up being, the killer reveal in that and whatever. I don't want to spoil any of the Scream movies if you haven't seen them. Uh, but yeah, it's like I said, it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 6, 4, 5, 3. And I haven't seen 7. So I don't know where to put 7 yet. Um, that's what I'm going with right now off the top of my head. Um, but let's see. Where was I? Oh yeah, Arrow. So like I said, people were a little upset with this month's announcements from Arrow, but like I said, not every month can be an A plus. And also, I don't think this is a bad month of releases from Arrow at all. They've had a great year so far. So heck, I don't mind. Let's see. Arrow Video has announced its May batch of releases. They are Blue Thunder from 1983, G.I. Samurai from 1979, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves from 1991. That's going to be a re-release of an Arrow release that's already happened. Nightbreed, which I think is underrated movie in my opinion. Mona Lisa has already been released by Criterion, so I'm pretty sure many people already have that release. Then you have the Dollars Trilogy, which was like their biggest release of last year. So couple of re-releases in here. I think that's what upsets people a little bit is re-releases really. Prince of Thieves, like I said, had a 4K release from them a couple of years ago. Now this is the same release, but it's getting released in a US version. The one that came out a couple of years ago was a UK only release, but it was a 4K, so you could import it and play it on your 4K player with no problem. 4K is region free. Nightbreed has been released previously by Shout Factory in both Blu-ray and um, uh, 4K. Yeah, the 4K for Nightbreed has been out since 2023. Yet again, if you don't have it on Blu-ray, if you don't have it on 4K, this will probably be the release to get for Nightbreed. And Nightbreed is the movie that is directed by Clive Barker. David Cronenberg is in the movie as an actor. um, yeah, I've always really liked Nightbreed. There's been a couple. There's a director's cut and a theatrical cut of that as well. Let me see. Let me actually just scroll down and just talk about it. Why not? Nightbreed. Here we go. It looks like it's a 2-disc edition, where you get the theatrical cut on one disc and the director's cut on the second disc. From the mind of writer-director Clive Barker, the macabre visionary responsible for Hellraiser and Candyman, comes Nightbreed. Comes Nightbreed, a nightmare-induced fantasy set in a world like nothing you've ever experienced before. One which will leave you questioning who the real monsters are. By night, Aaron Boone dreams of Midian, a hidden subterranean world where monsters have created a haven from humanity. Under pressure from his girlfriend Lori, he attends psychotherapy sessions, unaware that his shrink, Dr. Decker, the director David Cronenberg, is setting him up to take the fall for a series of violent murders. Convinced he no longer belongs in the human world, Boone goes to search of Midian, not realizing that the real killer has plans for both him and the colorful cast of outsiders who call it home. So this is a movie that is interesting because it does flip the whole idea of monsters on its head, whereas you think the monsters are the bad guys, but in fact that's not true. They're the outsiders. They are the other. They are the persecuted, not the ones doing the persecuting. And the real bad guys is humanity and prejudice and oppression and all this kind of stuff. I really like that about this movie, and I saw this movie years ago, and I've always wanted it in my collection, and I've never gotten it. So Nightbreed's getting a 4K UHD release, Dolby Vision HDR presentation of two versions of the film. You get the reversible sleeve art with newly commissioned artwork as well as the original poster artwork. There's a perfect bound collector's booklet featuring writing on the film by Mark Salisbury. Um, there's a double-sided fold-out poster. Like I said, theatrical cut, disc 1. And I think, hold on, let me see if... I want to see if Nightbreed was put out by Arrow before, or if this is their first time that they've been putting it out. They're putting it out. Not their first time. No, they put it out back in 2019. So a lot of these special features are stuff that was probably on that Blu-ray release. So you have an audio commentary by critics Adrian J. Smith and David Flint, vintage introduction by writer-director Clive Barker, Monsters, Maniacs, and Midian, The Making of Nightbreed. That's a feature-length documentary. Members of Midian, an interview with actor Nicholas Vince, Walking the Line Between Heaven and Hell. That's an interview with critic Kat Ellinger. Speaking Up for the Monsters, an interview with critic Kim Newman. Theatrical trailers and TV spots. And on the director, you get the original screenplay too. That's cool. And then for the director's cuts disc, you get an intro by Barker and restoration producer Mark Allen Miller. You got a commentary by Barker and Miller. You got new audio commentary by Kim Newman and Stephen Jones, and Barker collaborator Peter Atkins. You have another new commentary by Miller and director's cut editor Andrew Furtado. Our buddy Andrew Furtado over at Severin, actually, he used to work at Shout Factory, and he helped put together the Shout Factory release of this years ago. That's the connection with that. Tribes of the Moon, Making of Nightbreed, an extensive documentary on the making of the movie. Making Monsters, a documentary on the film's creature designs, firefights, stunts, an interview with second unit director Andy Armstrong. Cutting Compromise, an interview with editor Mark Goldblatt. Monster Prosthetics, Masterclass, an interview with Keen on the film's incredible prosthetic effects. Matte painting test, makeup test, an exploration of the film's abandoned stop-motion animation tests, rehearsal test, and Johnny Get Angry music video. So this is a stacked release. A stacked release. Yet again, if you have the old Blu-ray from Arrow, you may not need to upgrade this, but if you don't own the movie like myself, this is kind of the way to go. My head is starting to hurt. Let me talk about one of my favorite movies from my childhood, actually, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. So we probably talked about this release back when it came out. Let me see when that original 4K came out. Prince of Thieves. So 2023. No. Yes, no. Uh 22. Sorry. So 2022. 2022, the limited edition came out. 2023, the standard edition came out. And I've been trying to track down this release for years, the limited edition one, because I didn't buy it at the time, and I kind of, was indifferent about it, and I ended up missing out on it because it sold out very, very fast. Like I think it sold out like during pre-orders. That's how much people wanted this movie, at least wanted this edition of this movie. So the fact that it's getting a limited edition re-release now is all the more redemptive for me. So I will not be missing out on it this time. I can tell you that. So let's talk about Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. This is the movie starring Kevin Costner. Um, Robin of Locksley, Kevin Costner returns from the Crusades to find his father dead and vows revenge. With his Moorish companion Azim, portrayed by Morgan Freeman, he joins a band of peasant rebels to do battle against the wicked Sheriff of Nottingham, portrayed by Alan Rickman, and win the hand of fair maid Marian, portrayed by Mary Elizabeth Master Antonio, the cousin of the absent King of England. Uh, Yes, I watched this as a kid over and over again. This movie came out in 1991. I had it on VHS, and I was 4 years old when this movie came out. So 4-year-old me loved Robin Hood. I watched the old Disney Robin Hood, as well as this one over and over again. I just loved that story, the Legend of Robin Hood. And there's been so many adaptations of Robin Hood that even to this day, I think they're doing another Robin Hood adaptation. Uh, so many of them. I mean, going back to, oh goodness, the 30s with The Adventures of Robin Hood, the Michael Curtiz film starring Errol Flynn and Olivia de Havilland and Basil Rathbone. I mean, I think there was even one before. I think there's even stuff before that. They've done TV shows, they've done movies, they've done a mini series, they've done books, they've done comic books, video games. They've done everything with Robin Hood, and they keep doing it over and over again. Robbing from the rich and giving to the poor, I guess, is a never ending theme you can just keep going back to. It's just fascinating to me. But this one, Prince of Thieves, it's notorious for several things. One, the cast is kind of amazing in hindsight. It was even amazing at the time. Kevin Costner in 1991 was one of the biggest stars in the world. He had a rise to stardom in the 80s that was legendary, really, and he was massively a massive star at the time. Unfortunately, the movie's also notorious for him having an accent that goes in and out, just a terrible British, non-British accent, whatever. Um, this movie, of course, was parodied in Mel Brooks's film Robin Hood Men in Tights, which I think came out 1993. I think that came out in 1993, so a couple of years after this, with Carrie Elways playing Robin Hood, and you had it was just a parody over and over again of all the tropes and stuff in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and whatnot. Um, yeah, I mean, it was the first time I ever saw Alan Rickman on screen. Keep in mind, like I said, I was 4 years old. This would be decades before I would see Die Hard. Of course, he would be in the Harry Potter films, and of course, he would be in many, many, many other films and whatnot. Like, I think this was the first Kevin Costner film I ever saw as a kid, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. So it was a lot of firsts for me in this movie. A lot of firsts. First time I think I ever saw Morgan Freeman in a movie. Like I said, it was 1991, 1992. I was 4 or 5 years old. And so anywho, I've had this movie on VHS. I can't remember if I had it on DVD, but I've had the old, I think Warner Brothers uh, Blu-ray for years, and I've been needing to upgrade it. I've been needing to upgrade it badly because it doesn't look very good. I don't even know. I can't remember if it's in my drama section or in my action section. Nah, I can't really. My eyes are a little blurry from looking at the screen. But anywho, um, it actually could be behind me somewhere as I strain. Oh, I'm actually looking right at it. It's right there. You guys can't see it, but it's behind me. Um, anywho, yeah, JB44, you and I concur. Disney's Robin Hood cartoon version is my favorite. It honestly, I I think about that way more often than I think a normal person does because it's such a great adaptation, and it's got that classic Disney before the Disney Renaissance, before the golden age of Disney, which is the 90s. There's a lot of animated stuff that is that is fascinating to me from a pre-Golden Age era. Um, I have not seen Acres of Movies. Acres of Movies asks, "Have you seen Code 46?" I have not. I have not. Um, Acres of Movies also asks, "Would you rather be in a museum for Commando or True Lies?" True Lies. True Lies is the better movie. I think it's just more interesting. Um, let's see. 5 favorite characters in animated Robin Hood. Well, obviously, you go with Robin Hood. I always liked Little John. I always had this thing for sidekicks in movies because the sidekicks, they're not the main character. They're not the main character. They're not the one that the story typically revolves around. They're not the one the story's focused on. They're not the big heroes. They don't like get the girl or they don't win the day or whatever. But they're always loyal. They're always there when you need them. They play a pivotal role sometimes. Sometimes they end up saving our main protagonist. So I've always liked Little John, um, in the Robin Hood stories. I've always thought that was a kind of a crucial role. But some other characters from the animated Robin Hood, there's that guy with the is it the lute? It's either the lute or the guitar. It's not really a guitar. It's like a lute or whatever. Or and he's just going around just like singing the narration of the whole time, which I thought was really good. I also really liked Friar Tuck in it. I really liked Friar Tuck. Of course, you gotta like some of the bad guys. And the voice actor who did who did Prince John is incredible. Absolutely incredible. That whole dynamic with he and the snake is just amazing. Just incredible voiceover work. Really, it is. I have it on Blu-ray actually. Where's my copy? Actually, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it. Hmm, can't find it. Huh, that's interesting. Interesting. I can't find it. I thought it was on my shelf. I know I have it. Huh. Odd. Because I've got my Disney stuff. I have my Disney and animation kind of mixed in with one another, and I tried to separate them based off of like studio. Like I'll keep all the Illumination next to each other, all the DreamWorks next to each other, and all the Disney next to each other, and then the Pixar next to each other. For some reason, I thought I had it. Yeah, because I have there's hmm. That's something I got to look up after. I got to look up after. Yeah, Acres of Movies says I love the snake too. Yeah, snakes are always great in animation. Um, Acres of Movies asks Jeff Bridges calls you. He's like, hey, do do Tucker commentary with me or do one for Starman. I'll do Starman. I'll do Starman. Let's see, where was I? Oh yeah, Arrow. Prince of Thieves. Let me go over the special features. So restored in 4K by Arrow Films, Dolby Vision HDR presentation of the film, original uncompressed stereo DTS HD 5.1 surround audio, audio commentary with director Kevin Reynolds and actor Kevin Costner. That's cool. Uh, audio commentary with actors Morgan Freeman and Christian Slater. I forgot Christian Slater's in the movie. Yet again, he was a big star at the time too. And writers slash producers Penn Densham and John Watson. Um, Here We Are Kings, Making Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, a multi-part documentary. Um, Robin Hood, The Myth, the Man, the movie, and archival 1991 documentary hosted by Pierce Brosnan. That's kind of cool. One-on-one with the cast, archival 1991 interviews with, Costner, Morgan Freeman, Mary Elizabeth Master Antonio, Christian Slater, Alan Rickman, Brian Adams. Everything I do it for you. That's the that song was massive at the time. um, Music soundtrack cues, theatrical trailer, TV spots, image gallery, reversible sleeve featuring original and newly commissioned artwork, collector's perfect bound booklet, double-sided fold-out poster, another one, get two of those bad boys. Six postcard-sized art cards. But if you have this release already from 2022, you don't need this, obviously. But if you missed out on that one like I did, and you didn't want to end up paying like triple the price on eBay for it, redemption is yours, like I said. So that's Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. GI Samurai. It's a movie I've already talked about, so I'm not gonna talk about it too much, because what's their name put this out already? I think it was Imprint. Yeah, Imprint put this out. Imprint this just came out. By put this out, I mean it came out in December 17th. Imprint put no Umbrella put this out. Sorry, not yeah. Um, Umbrella put this out. Basically, World War Yeah, G.I. Samurai sees action superstar Sonny Chiba heading the cast in a rip-roaring time-slip action blockbuster in which guns, tanks, and helicopters come up against katana-wielding warriors on horseback. Yeah, so like modern-day Japanese soldiers end up going back in time to like feudal Japan and helping them fight a war. That's G.I. Samurai. Like I said, I've talked about it before, so I don't want to take too much time doing that. But I will talk about Blue Thunder. I'll talk about Blue Thunder because it is a new release. Um, in the sense that I don't believe that they have they've announced this before or put this out before. In 1983, director John Badham followed his smash hit Saturday Night Fever with Blue Thunder, an adrenaline packed fusion of techno, thriller, grit, and blockbuster spectacle. The tale of airborne surveillance and institutional overreach became a defining genre snapshot of Reagan era anxiety shot through the Hollywood muscle and prescient distrust of unchecked technology. Roy Scheider stars as Frank Murphy, a veteran LAPD helicopter pilot, picked to test fly Blue Thunder, an experimental attack chopper bristled with unprecedented surveillance capabilities. When Murphy uncovers a covert plot to weaponize the aircraft for domestic policing, he takes to the skies in open rebellion, hunted through the city by his own unit and shadowy government architects. Murphy's final patrol becomes a white knuckle fight for justice and survival. Co-starring Warren Oates, Malcolm McDowell, and Candy Clark. Blue Thunder delivers heart-pounding suspense and sky-high stakes, a landmark of analog age futurism. It remains a razor-sharp thrill ride that fires on all cylinders from beginning to end. I will say this: the stunt work, the action sequences, the action cinematography and coordination and editing and all that kind of stuff is incredibly cool. Is incredibly cool in this movie, and it is a good portion of the third act of this movie. There's just a massive like chase through the skies, via helicopters. That stuff's all really really cool. Everything else is kind of fine. Kind of fine in the movie. I think. I mean, there's this whole thing where the Roy Scheider's character is dealing with PTSD from Vietnam and stuff like that. They don't really do much with that, um, at all, unfortunately. And I thought that would be kind of an interesting thing, but no, they don't do much with it. There's a whole angle when it comes to, government surveillance, oversight, and all that kind of stuff, and the dangers of that. That's interesting. Uh, but yeah, the movie's fine. The movie's fine. If you know John Badham, he's a fine director. He's okay. I've always liked a good number of his work. Um, kind of a workman director. He did the movie War Games after I think after this actually, or was it before this? I think it was no, it was after this. He did Saturday Night Fever, like it said, Short Circuit, Stakeout. He also did that 1970s Dracula movie with Frank Langella. Let me see if I can find. Yep, the one from 1979. Yeah. Um, he also did Bingo Long, Traveling All Stars, and Motor Kings. That movie's super underrated. That movie with Billy D. Williams as well as um, why am I blanking? James Earl Jones, Richard Pryor. It's about the baseball leagues, the African American baseball leagues. I mean, from the 1930s. I think that's kind of a super underrated movie. But anywho, yeah, John Badham, fine director. Blue Thunder is fine. I do want to make mention. Let me point this out while I'm here. Where are you? Oh, there it is. Our um, our friend Scott Saslow, who I'm going to be doing another interview with, hopefully later on this month. He worked on the layout and booklet design for Blue Thunder. He also worked out the layout and booklet design for the Dollars trilogy box set that they're putting together, and which is which is interesting that they're doing that. We'll get to that one next, and then we'll move on to Vinegar Syndrome. Where am I in terms of timing here? Um, okay, about 2 hours in. Um, let's see. Uh, but let's see. But the Blue Thunder special features: 4K restoration from the original camera negative, Dolby Vision HDR presentation of the film, original restored lossless 2.0 stereo audio. There's an option for DTS HD Master 5.1. Archival audio commentary by director John Badham, the editor Frank Morris, and motion control supervisor Hoyt Yeatman. Flight Risk, a brand new interview with director John Badham. That's awesome. A roller coaster ride, a brand new interview with actor Candy Clark. Catching up, a brand new interview with actor Malcolm McDowell. Nice. Ride with the Angels, Making Blue Thunder, an archival 3-part documentary from '06. Okay. The special Building Blue Thunder, an archival featurette from '06 on the design and construction of the helicopter. Archival 1983 promotion featurette. Extended scenes, theatrical trailer, image gallery, reversible sleeve art, collector's booklet, uh, the huge, the huge. Now let's talk about the Dollars trilogy. Okay, I guess not even an elevator in the room here. Um, these were some of the biggest releases for collectors of last year. Uh, these came out in limited edition collector's editions, like Arrow tends to put out. They also were re-released in standard editions. If you missed out on the collector's editions were you had to fight people to get those bad boys. You had to be there when they dropped on the internet at specific outlaw stores, or because they sold out so quickly. Luckily, I was able to get my copies. Let me where are these? Ah, here they are. Let me move these over here. Um, I got my copies, and I've shown these before, so this is nothing new here. I'm not gloating or anything, but you have a fistful of dollars. A fistful of dollars. Move my phone over there for a few dollars more. The second film, probably, maybe my favorite of the Dollars trilogy. You have that. And then you've got, of course, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, you could, like I said, you could buy these in these editions here, these 4K UHDs or Blu-rays, however you prefer. Or you could buy the standard editions, which were just, just the Blu-ray cases, right? So the standard editions would just be these, which you could still get right now. Standard editions, you just get this. So you get all the on-disc content, which is the most important thing. And you can actually still find these limited editions if you want to track these down. You can still find them. Sometimes you'll get lucky on some online stores, like Orbit DVD or Diabolic or eBay. You'll probably end up paying a pretty penny for them. Or if you just want the standard, get the standards. Either way, you get the content. But if you don't want any of those two options, you can go for this new Dollars Trilogy box set, where it's got all of the on disc content in there, plus a truncated version of the extras. Truncated in the sense like each book, each edition. No, I'll just whip out a fistful of dollars. Each edition came with a booklet, right? Each of these booklets, I think, were 60 pages apiece. So each one came with a 60-page book, but in this box set, they kind of truncated it. They took out a couple of the essays, and they made it so that it all fits in one box. So you don't get everything that are from these limited editions, but you get a nice kind of truncated version of that. So that's worth noting. If you're a completionist, maybe that's not the option for you. But if you just want the movies in their 4K glory, I'll have to say these transfers that Arrow did look amazing. Some of the best put out of last year, I would damn say. Plus the extras are excellent on these sets as well. If you want all that, go have at it. Um, so I thought that'd be worth mentioning. Um, so I'm not going to go over everything because, like I said, these have already been going over ad nauseum. it's 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 the on disc stuff that are in these sets here, but in one box, and a truncated version of some of the extra stuff. Like you get kind of less instead of getting um like a actually let me look it up. Instead of getting like a 60, like each one getting a 60-page book, it's like one smaller book. Hold on, let me see if it's even here. Blu-ray.com does not even have a listing. Oh no, there it is. I didn't scroll far enough. Yeah, you get kind of like I said, you get a see. It doesn't even list off of go to Arrow's website. Yeah, I'll go to Arrow's website and see if it says it there. Ba-ba-bum. Yeah, it's here's all the details here. Yeah, you get it's all the on disc stuff. Pop-ups, pop-ups, pop-ups. Driving me crazy. Doesn't even Anywho, yeah, I was just looking to see if it had any details on the trilogy set that I needed to mention, but no, it's like I said, it's all the on disc stuff here is the important thing. That's the most important thing. If you want to have all of the essays and stuff, then I would say track these down. If that's your thing. Um, I believe it does come with the posters too. Yet again, they did a pretty bad job of telling you the difference. That's Yeah, I think it comes with the posters for each of the movies. Um, comes with the discs that are in those sets, and then comes with the booklet. But like I said, a truncated version of the booklet because each of these limited editions came with a 60-page booklet, and they couldn't put together a 180-page book into fit in that box, so they had to like take out a couple of the essays and whatnot, edit it down. Um, but yeah, um, let me check out some comments here, and then we'll move on to Vinegar Syndrome because my mind's starting to ramble. Let's see. Let's see. JB44 says, I danced to that Brian Adams song in junior high with a girl. It was scary to think that I had to dive for her if it came down to it. um, what a time. I bet you many people in many of school dances in many a years has had to has danced to that song. I bet you, even not even school dances, maybe like weddings and things like that. Um, uh, Acres of Movies asks, supporting actor winner showdown, Jim Broadbent, I'm assuming in Iris versus Connery and the Untouchables. Connery and the Untouchables. Um, I still think about that movie a lot, to the point where I keep reminding myself I need to upgrade it to 4K because that Blu-ray is so old. And I just think about that quote, man. I just think about that a lot. Um, yeah, Acres of Movies do a brief back and forth with Johnny Five, the robot from Short Circuit. Um, Acres of Movies says Short Circuit convention in Oregon in May. That's kind of cool. Yeah, Short Circuit is a kind of a big cult hit, isn't it? It's a movie I think I've seen like only once actually. I'm at that I'm at that age where I've missed out on a lot of 80s like cultural type of things. You know what I mean? I was born in 87. So by the time I started getting into like certain things, the 90s had come along. So I'm more of a 90s kid than an 80s kid. So there's a lot of 80s stuff that I missed out a little bit on, especially like early 80s stuff. Even like certain cultural touchstones when it comes to movies and whatnot. Um, I missed out on a little bit on. I'm more, like I said, more of a 90s and 2000s more predominantly. 2000s would be where I would spend my teenage years, if you will. Um, do I like Dolly Parton comedy Straight Talk? I don't. Have I seen it? I don't know if I've seen it. I've seen Dolly Parton in 9 to 5. Um, and of course, Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, the movie she did with Burt Reynolds. Um, Acres the movie to ask, would you like a special edition of that and Fresh Horses? So Straight Talk, yes, because I think there's kind of a cheaper Blu-ray of that, and I feel like that could probably use a better release. I have no idea. Acres movies ask favorite 5 piano related scenes. Oh, best 5 piano related scenes ever. I'd have to think of any this is so any scene in the movie The Piano, the Jane Campion film, because the piano's just like sitting on the beach like for a long time in that movie, if I remember correctly. So there's that. Autumn Sonata, the Ingmar Bergman film from the '70s, starring Ingrid Bergman. That's a good piano movie. Um, man, there's probably so many others that I'm missing when it comes to just piano playing. Um, I'm trying to think best piano movies. Completely blanking on it. Um, I don't know because I'm thinking of like movie scores as opposed to thinking of. I mean, there's that scene in Five Easy Pieces where he's playing the piano on the back of that truck. That's really good. There's the piano teacher, a little bit different. That's a little bit different. I feel like that movie is more iconic than not necessarily for its piano playing. Um, Obviously Amadeus. Anything in Amadeus, obviously because it's Mozart, Salieri, all that, all that stuff. Acres of Movies asks, should Arrow release Air America? Yeah, why not? Why not? I'm all for boutiques releasing whatever they feel like releasing. Um, I wouldn't mind that at all. Um, Speaking of boutiques, let me move over to Vinegar Syndrome. Let's see. Yeah, we're back on Vinegar. We are back on Vinegar Syndrome. We're on Vinegar Syndrome now. Um, let's see. So Vinegar Syndrome had a bunch of announcements from themselves as well as the partner labels. So let me list off of I unfortunately, like I said, I've been sick over the last week. I did not get to delve into a lot of this like I normally do. Plus, they dropped these on Sunday. March 1st was Sunday, so it gave me like a day to go over this stuff. Ironically, had I done originally done chasing labels on Monday like I usually do, I wouldn't have had that much time. So let me read off the Vinegar Syndrome proper titles, and I only got to watch like two of them, so we'll talk about those. So, uh, coming out on 4K UHD, Vinegar Syndrome is putting out Office Killer. Vinegar Syndrome is putting out another one of their Forgotten Gialli volumes. This is volume 9. They're putting out a movie called Massacre and on 4K UHD, and they're also putting it out with an alternate slipcover. Why they decided to make two different listings for the same movie, just for different slipcovers, I don't know. Instead of just making one listing and then you can go in there and choose which slipcover you want, I don't know. Cinematograph is putting out a Blu-ray release of Badge 373, starring the late great Robert Duvall. I wonder if they put it out because Robert Duvall passed away. Not put it out. They probably had it like within their archives. They decided, hey, we're gonna put this one out now since the recent news of Robert Duvall's passing. Um, who knows? Um, they're putting Vinegar Syndrome is putting out another one of their Reviver titles. This is Reviver 2. Now, this is basically their mystery title. It's a title that they don't release the title of it. I don't even think they tell you what it's about. It's just a mystery. Yeah, everything here is redacted, like the like government files. um, they give you a little hint of what the movie is, but they don't tell you the title, and they redact a lot of like the actors' names that are in it, the directors' names, the people who worked in it, etc., etc. Which is it's a fun little thing. They give you the year it came out. This one came out in 1965, but they don't tell you anything else. That's the little fun thing they've got going on there. And then I think there's another movie here called being put out by VSP called Cuddly Toys. So I got to watch Office Killer. Now this is a kind of 1990s fun. I use the term fun loosely. Office movie, horror comedy. I would say it's like super macabre and super weird. You'll recognize some of the people that are in it. Carol Kane is the lead of the movie. Molly Ringwald's in the film. Gene Triplehorn, Eric Bogosian is in there. A super young Michael Imperioli's in the movie, and this would be obviously years before um The Sopranos would come out. This movie came out in 1997. The first season of The Sopranos came out in 1999, so not exactly too far away. Ironically, is I think the pilot for The Sopranos was shot in 1997. That's how long ago The Sopranos came out. But the only feature film directed by internationally acclaimed and award-winning photographer Cindy Sherman, Office Killer is a delectable, bloody, tightly paced contemporary slasher that offers a grimly humorous take on the serial killer thriller and a wry look at the corporate environment of the 1990s. With its bleak lyrical photography and a score by Lounge Lizard's co-founder Evan Lurie, it features Emmy Award winner Carol Kane as Doreen, along with Molly Ringwald, Gene Triplehorn, and a guest appearance from Eric Bogosian. Vinegar Syndrome is overjoyed to at least offer the 4K UHD and Blu-ray debut of this criminally underseen horror gem, newly restored in 4K from its original 35mm camera negative, and packed with extras, including all new interviews with its cast and crew. And this movie is kind of like this would actually make a great pairing with Serial Mom, the John Waters film from the 1990s. It's similarly humorous in that regard. This movie's a little bit darker, a little bit more gruesome, but it's got that same type of horror satire to it, if you will. And this movie is predominantly set in an office, and I think it's a fashion it's a fashion office, fashion magazine, something like that. And Carol Kane works there, and her job it basically gets downsized to where she's working at home now, and she hates it. She hates the fact that her job is now a work from home job, and she doesn't have to go into the office anymore. And she ends up actually getting called in the office for some tech reason or whatever, and she ends up accident or the person that she's working with accidentally dies. He gets electrocuted by because some tech thing or whatever, some outlet, whatever, and it's an accident. And instead of calling the police or anyone really, she takes the body home and like hides it in her basement. And then this sets off a chain reaction of her like becoming a serial killer. And she starts like killing people who work at her at the job she works at. And she's got this weird relationship with her mom. It's very Norma Bates esque relationship. It's odd. It's a weird, quirky movie. Carol Kane is so unhinged in the film, and it's a perfect Carol Kane character. Carol Kane plays unhinged so well throughout her career. Everything from Taxi all the way up to the Kimmy Schmidt. Carol Kane is just a great actress, truly an all-time great, and she's really good in this movie. And the movie itself, I think, is just oddly dark and comedic in every sense of the word. And yeah, it's kind of a '90s cult film, I would say. This edition here is a 2-disc set, 4K UHD release, as well as a Blu-ray. Presented in the 4K is presented in Dolby Vision with HDR, with Dolby Vision HDR, and newly scanned and restored in 4K from its original 35 millimeter camera negative. Commentary track with author slash journalist programmer Heidi Honeycutt. Return to Office. A director Cindy Sherman and actress Molly Ringwald look back at the Office killer 30 years later. That's really cool. A pure creative experience, a new interview with actress Jean Triplehorn. Wow, didn't think they'd get that. High art, low budget, a new interview with cinematographer Russell Lee Fine. Another kind of monster, a new interview with author Dahlia Schwelzer. Behind the scenes footage, courtesy of Jean Triplehorn. I would have loved if they had gotten Carol Kane to do a new interview. I would have loved that. But unfortunately, they were not able to. So this is the movie called Office Killer. It's literally as the title suggests. Carol Kane is an office killer at the 4K UHD release of that. So if you've been collecting the Forgotten Gialli volumes right along, chances are you'll want to get this one. I didn't get to watch Massacre or Cuddly Toys, but I did watch Badge 373. Now, if you're a fan of 1970s like gritty cop movies a la The French Connection, this movie will fall right in line with that. But this is kind of like the movie. This is the movie you get when you can't get The French Connection. Like, let's say you're programming like 1970s cop movies and you can't get The French Connection because you can't afford the rights to get it, or to get a print of it, or for whatever reason. You get Badge 373, starring Robert Duvall, and it's kind of like that. Um, which is kind of nuts to me. Uh, because I was going into this movie, kind of expecting it to be good, and it's not really that great. If you want to just see kind of Robert Duvall be a racist, angry cop from the '70s, there you go. Excuse me. Following the death of his partner, brash NYPD cop Eddie Ryan, Robert Duvall swears vengeance, going on a violent quest through the streets of 1970s New York City to find his assailants. His methods prove so hostile and racist that he is forced to resign from the police, rendering him a vigilante hell-bent on justice. Ryan's pursuit of take no prisoners fury puts him in the crosshairs of a drug kingpins and revolutionaries, not to mention the very department that he was once a part of. That's the movie. It's basically him like versus like Puerto Rican drug kingpins and revolutionaries and stuff like that. Yeah, it says here inspired by the French Connection. Yeah, but it's nowhere near as good as the French Connection. Like not even close. It's nothing like Serpico um or Dirty Harry. It's if anything, it's more in line with Dirty Harry, but Dirty Harry is better. Dirty Harry is much better. That's another 4K I need to get. Dirty Harry. Anywho, so let's see what we have for special features. So new 4K restoration of from the original 35 millimeter camera negative with the original mono theatrical soundtrack, new audio commentary by film historian Steve Mitchell, a Kennel of Truth, a new video interview with retired NYPD detective Randy Jurgensen, friend of Eddie Egan and technical advisor on the movie. Um, police film protection, a new video conversation between Jason Bailey, author of Fun City Cinema, New York City, and the movies that made it, and cinematographer and cinematographs Justin La Liberty. Craftsman Kingmaker, Howard W. Koch, and The Art of Getting It Done, a new video essay by Daniel Kramer. New essays, and there's new essays in the booklet as well. So if you've been a fan of these cinematograph releases this whole time, like I have, and you actually, there's several of them you still want to get like I do, chances are you'll probably like this release in general. But for me, the movie's not quite enough to jump out to buy it right away. There's still several other cinematograph releases that I want to get. Boxcar Bertha and A New Leaf are two at the top of my list that I need to get. So with that being said, let me go over to the partner labels. But before I go over to the partner labels, I'll go take a look at some of the comments here that I have here. Um, Acres of Movies ask Paramount and WB merge, make Final Destination Scream merge sequel. Whoa! So do Final Destination and Scream as one, as like they merge together. That is interesting. Also, kind of conflicts with one another because Final Destination is all about like fate and death catching up with you, as opposed to Scream, which is all about people like committing murder and stuff. Like it's very much a decision as opposed to like fate happening. That's very interesting. Um, I'm actually very curious what's going to happen with all of these different franchises when Paramount and Warner Brothers become one. Like, are we ever going to see, uh, another Final Destination movie? Are we going to see another Scream movie? How is this all going to work? And when is this all going to happen? There's only so much budget for this. I didn't mention this earlier, but um, both Paramount and Warner Brothers are in massive amounts of debt. Each company I think is like billions and billions of dollars in debt. I don't know they how a merger is going to fix any of that. Um, I don't know how they're going to be able to continue to make movies at any type of large amount or moderate amount or small amount. But yeah, again, that's decisions for people a lot smarter than me. But still, I think it's gonna be interesting. I don't know if they're gonna be able to put out their usual outputs in movies. So what is that going to mean for said, stapled franchises, if you will? Um, yeah, what's it gonna mean? Yeah, because they both of them have massive franchise. Warner Brothers, it's kind of, yeah, I'm going to go off on a little bit of a rant. It's baffling to me that Paramount is buying Warner Brothers because Warner Brothers is a massively larger company than Paramount, just in terms of assets. Just the Rolodex of what Warner Brothers has within their company in terms of like in terms of IP, in terms of properties, it dwarfs that of Paramount, like massively dwarfs that of Paramount. Warner Brothers to me is in a better position than Paramount is financially. Paramount just got bought. Uh, it's nuts. It's nuts. It's just it's crazy to me because yeah, Warner Brothers is massive. Anywho, uh, anywho, let me continue on with the partner labels. So let me list some of these bad boys off. I didn't get to see very many of these, so I'll go to the ones that I did get to see, and then a couple of these other ones that looked interesting to me. A couple of these movies. So Brainstorm Media is putting out American Sweatshop. ETR Media is putting out Art Spiegelman Disaster is My Muse. That's a documentary. Connie is putting out Carnival in the Night. Um, Muscle is putting out castration movie anthology One Traps. Um, Factory 25 is putting out Citywide Fever. Big World Pictures is putting out 8 postcards from Utopia and the exit of the trains. Club Super 8 is putting out Fear Has a Thousand Eyes. Film Movement Classics is putting out a 2-part Fritz Lang epic. It's Fritz Lang's Indian epic, The Tiger of Eshnapur and the Indian Tomb. Dark Sky is putting out The G. Bizarro is putting out The Ghost Galleon. Shudder is putting out Grafted. Film Movement is putting out Great Absence. Dark Star is putting out Hayride to Hell, a plus a Halloween Feast. Shudder is putting out Humane. Film Movement Classics putting out a movie called Judo. That's Ju space Dou, Judo. Circle Collective is putting out King Baby. Dark Sky is putting out Lily Lives Alone. Delirium Home Video is putting out Love Letters of a Portuguese Nun. This is another Jess Franco film. This is a Jess Franco nunsploitation film, I believe, from the 70s. So remember when I just said that everybody gets a Jess Franco? Everybody gets a Jess Franco. IFC Films is putting out The Novice. Kim Stim is putting out Plan 75. Glass Eye Pix is putting out The Roost. That is a Ty West film from 2005. So if you're a big Ty West fan, you like his recent work in X, Pearl, and Maxine, and you want to check out his earlier stuff, here's one of them in The Roost. The Catalog is putting out Snowy Bing Bongs. Film Movement Classics putting out Somersault. That's a Kate Shortland film. Kate Shortland directed the movie Black Widow with starring Scarlett Johansson from a couple of years ago. Remember that whole movie that was supposed to come out and then it got pushed because of the pandemic and COVID, and then it got pushed to coming out on Disney Plus, and then Scarlett Johansson sued Disney. Well, Kate Shortland directed Black Widow. I'm pointing over there because I have Black Widow over there. Saturn's Core is putting out The Stupefying Siren Tales of Pamela Such. Several Futures is putting out The Temple Woods Gang. Art Label is putting out Vic and Tarstar's Scarecrow Factory. Canadian International Pictures is putting out Vinyl. This is another documentary. Well, yeah, it is. American Genre Film Archive, AGFA, is putting out Wildwood, New Jersey. And then that is it. Yeah, that's it. That's it. So what did I get to see? I only got to see a couple of these. I only had like a day to watch them, plus I've been sick. But I did watch Vinyl. So Canadian International Pictures putting out this documentary called Vinyl. This is from 2000. This is like super low budget, like DIY documentary about vinyl collecting. This is a type of video or type of movie that was it's a YouTube video before there was YouTube, if you will. In my opinion, that's how it looks to me, aesthetically. But the movie is getting at a lot of kind of universal truths when it comes to collecting. If you're a big time collector, whether it be like we are, those of you listening, those of you watching, collecting movies. Some people, like I, also collect comic books and collect books. People collect baseball cards, football cards. People collect Pokemon cards. People collect Funko Pops. People collect art. People collect action figures, stamps, whatever the case may be. This movie's getting at a lot of universal truths when it comes to collecting and why we collect. There are several reasons why I think we are collectors of some kind. Whether it's personal reasons, whether it's, financial reasons, whatever the case may be. Maybe we don't even know why we collect and we just do it. Maybe we just like it because we're good at it, Who really knows? Except for maybe ourselves. But this movie is getting specifically at vinyl collecting, which is another form of collecting. People collect vinyl, cassette tapes, CDs, A-tracks, whatever the case may be. And this movie is like super low budget, shot predominantly, I think, maybe like camcorder type of cameras. I was gonna say DV cams, but I think it's even before DV cams. We're talking like 1990s cameras here, maybe even earlier. But the movie's a bit long. It's an hour and 50 minutes, and it does drag a little bit because it gets very repetitious, and it's mostly just a person kind of just talking, really. That's why I said it reminded me a lot of a YouTube video, 'cause it's really mostly just a person either talking to the camera and just going on and on about collecting and vinyl and different artists and different means of collecting and different stories about collecting and all that kind of stuff, or he's interviewing somebody. And there's some people who pop up in here that you may know, like Guy Madden. Um, or Harvey Pekar from American Splendor. I mean, they're just people you may know who pop up in it. And there's other people you have no idea who they are. They're just kind of random collectors, and you get all kinds of stories about people and their collecting habits. There was one interesting story in here where this guy had 2,000 LPs, 2,000 records, and he was moving and couldn't take them with him. And he had no place to put them, and he just dumped them in a dumpster because he didn't want anybody else to have them. And I'm just like, that's an interesting kind of psychosis of a collector's mindset. Like he didn't want anybody else to have these records other than himself. So instead of like putting them in storage, instead of giving them away, instead of like, I don't know, doing something with them, he just threw them in a dumpster. And I'm like, and as a collector, that's like a shot to the heart. I couldn't do that to save my life. I mean, I I'm one of those people. I'm incredibly sentimental. Incredibly sentimental. I um I don't know if any of you guys have picked this up. Those of you who've been listening or watching long enough, I am an incredibly emotional person, and I get very attached to things. And I put a lot into certain things that you probably don't even put you shouldn't put like shouldn't put emotion into. Like inanimate objects. For example, like my movies. My movies are super important to me. You know what I mean? I don't like to get rid of them. I don't like to like replace them. I don't like to throw them away. I don't like to give them away. It's just like I have like a sense of attachment to them, if you will. So I can understand that at that level. You know what I mean? Especially if it's something you've had in your collection for so long and there's a story that goes behind it. Like every single movie I have, like there's something specific about it that I can trace some personal thing to. Like let's say uh, like, for example, I have a Nora, okay? So I have the Criterion 4K of a Nora right here. So I remember how I got this. I We were going to interview Sean Baker for the release of this, as well as his other film, and I needed to get a copy of this because I wanted to have it for the interview. And I wasn't sure when we were gonna interview him, but I knew I needed to get it beforehand. So I went the day this came out. I went to Barnes and Noble and I bought it. But when I went to Barnes and Noble, they didn't put it out on the shelf yet. So I had to ask if they had copies of this. And the guy had to go to the back and get it. And then we talked a little bit about the movie and all this kind of stuff. But like, there's a story behind me getting the Anora 4K. You know what I mean? So there's the personal attachment to it. So watching this documentary vinyl and hearing all these personal stories from these people and understanding their kind of reasons why they collect and personal attachments and all kinds of stuff, I kind of got it. You know what I mean? I definitely got it. Um, but yeah, that's just a little bit of inside me, basically. But this release from Canadian International Pictures of this movie has quite a few special features. Excuse me. Transfer from the best surviving tape master. Like I said, it was shot on tape, so it looks a little rough. New extended mirror introduction by Alan Sweig. He's the director. There's a new audio commentary by Sweig, moderated by filmmaker podcaster Jay Cheel. A new featuring Sweig. New commentary with Sweig in conversation with editor Christopher Donaldson and producer Greg. I I can't pronounce that. It's too many letters. Too many consonants in a row here. There's no vowels. New interview with uh new audio commentary with Sweig in conversation with critic slash author Jeff Pevier and vinyl superfan August Dorney. New audio commentary with Sweig in conversation with composer Scott Kramer. Vinyl, The Alternate Take, which is feature-length companion film comprised entirely of footage cut from vinyl. Wow. New audio commentary on vinyl, The Alternate Take featuring Swig and Chill. Extended interview with Guy Madden, Don McKellar, and Harvey Pekar. Additional outtakes is a booklet in here as well. The producer, I couldn't pronounce his name. It's Greg Klimke? Klimke? Yeah, I probably butchered that. But anywho, this looks like an interesting, unique release from Canadian International Pictures of the documentary Vinyl from the year 2000. Let's see, what else did I get to see here? Um, so I didn't get to see The Roost because frankly I couldn't find it. But like I said, it's a Ty West film, and if you're into Ty West's work and you want to check out his earlier stuff, this is from 2005. So this is pretty early. Tom Noonan is in this. Interesting. It says, following a near-death car accident, four friends on their way to a Halloween wedding venture to a secluded farm for help. Little do they know they will soon disturb an ancient evil with far more ghastly plans in store for them. That's what you get. There's two audio commentaries, one with producer Larry Fessenden and director Ty West, sound designer Graham Resnick, and associate producer Peter Falk. Radio clips from The Roost by Graham Resnick, Bat Animation Test, Kids Making Movies, and Look Inside the Roost from 2005. Okay, so that's the Ty West film put up by Glass Eye Pix. So the Novice, sorry. The Novice is available to stream on Canopy, and I actually started watching it last night at around 4 a.m. and I passed out. I don't even think I got to the opening credits. It's one of those where you're like you're trying to rally and you're trying to oh, I got one more movie left in me. No, you don't. No, you don't. So I thought I had one more movie left in me last night. No, after 6 movies, I passed right out. But the Novice is an obsessive college freshman joins her university's rowing team and undertakes an extreme physical and psychological journey to make it to the top varsity boat, no matter the cost. Kind of reminds me of Whiplash. There's a commentary with the director Lauren Hadaway and actress Isabel Furman, interview with the director Lauren Hadaway, and interview with actress Isabel Furman, and 2 deleted scenes. Okay. I thought I'd mention that. Love Letters of a Portuguese Nun. I've got to mention this because it's shocking, salacious, and stunningly shot and expertly performed by an international cast. Love Letters of a Portuguese Nun is among the best blasphemous European horror films of the 1970s, at a high mark in Franco and Dietrich's respective oeuvres. Yeah, it's a Jess Franco 1977 nunsploitation film starring Susan Hemingway, commentary by author and film historian Troy Haworth, memoirs of a Portuguese nun, Erwin C. Dietrich trailers, Jess Franco and Lena Romay in Munich. And there's a trailer and photo gallery. Yeah, it's Jess Franco from the 70s. You know what you're getting. You know what you're getting. I believe this is the first time this is getting a Blu-ray release. It's a nunsploitation classic. Let's see. Couple of other things here that look interesting to me. Oh, Humane. So Humane I got to watch. This is streaming currently on Hulu if you have Hulu. This movie is actually directed by Caitlin Cronenberg. That name you know. Caitlin Cronenberg is, I believe, Cronenberg's youngest child. I believe David Cronenberg's youngest child. This movie stars Jay Baruchel, Emily Hampshire, Peter Gallagher's in the film as well. Interesting film. It's not a great movie, but it's an interesting first film. I would say that a global environmental collapse forces world leaders to take extreme measures to reduce Earth's population. So what this is basically in the aftermath of an environmental catastrophe. I believe it's like a global warming type of thing. One of those things. Basically, humanity's got to reduce population size because it's causing a problem. So people are volunteering for euthanasia programs. And basically what happens is you volunteer or you enlist to to die, essentially. And I think your family gets a large amount of money. Your family gets like $250,000 or something. It's a large amount of money, right? So Peter Gallagher is the head of this family, and he decides that he and his wife are going to enlist. And he brings all of his kids together to tell them this, and it doesn't go over well. Doesn't go over well with them. Um, and what happens is he decides he's going to do it, and his wife runs away. She has cold feet at the last second, and she runs away. She's not going to commit to this. The problem is they've already signed the paperwork, which is legally binding, and there are certain penalties that if you don't do it, you get basically all your assets get frozen, and you get put on a government list where you are known as a betrayer or traitor or something like that. So he just goes through it, and like I said, the wife has run away, but and it's now left to his kids to kind of figure things out, because there's also another clause, another legal clause where um one of them needs to basically substitute for the missing wife in terms of enlisting, and it's up to them to decide which one of them is going to do it. And this leads to a lot of infighting, literal fighting, and all this kind of stuff. It's an interesting philosophical thought experiment of a movie, if you will. And it's a tight 90-minute film. I thought the acting is really good. There's recognizable actors in here with Jay Baruchel, Emily Hampshire. If you've seen Schitt's Creek, Enrico Colante is in the movie. He was in the show Veronica Mars. He plays the father in Veronica Mars, but he's also in Just Shoot Me, the '90s sitcom with David Spade and Laura San Giacomo. He's also always a great actor. I always forget that he's from Canada. This is a Canadian film through and through. Even all the actors, I think, are Canadian. Um, uh, um, yeah, it's a lot of it's an interesting like thought experiment film. It all takes place in one setting, like in a house. Um, it's an interesting movie. Interesting movie. It's a good film. It's a good film. It's an okay film from a first time director. That's what you have to keep in mind. First time director. Uh, it's called Humane. Humane. What do we have here for special features? Commentary track with director Caitlin Cronenberg and producer Michael Sparaga, 3 deleted scenes, complete musical score. Okay. Behind the scenes photos, the endings short film, booklet with new writing by Nadine Whitney. Um, that's it. That's it. This movie's from 2023, so relatively new-ish. I think it's either from 2023, 2024, depending on the theatrical window or whatever. Um, yeah, that's the movie Humane. So let's go on to. Oh, I didn't get to see The Great Absence, but anything put out by Film Movement, I would recommend at least giving a watch to. Shutter, if you have the Shutter streaming service, you can watch Grafted. I think if you have Shutter, Humane may be on there as well, but I watched it on Hulu. The Ghost Galleon. So I watched this movie because this sold out very fast. 2,000 units that were the limited edition, the one with the slipcover. This sold out very quickly. So I'm like, oh, people really, really, really digging this 1970s um, zombie movie, right? I watched the movie, and I should have known. I always underestimate people's preclusivity or people's favoritism for like really bad horror films from the 1970s. And I use the word bad in a general sense. Um, More of like cult-ish bad. Like this is definitely a cult movie that people who love 1970s B horror zombie movies, movies that are not Dawn of the Dead, movies that are not Fulci Zombie, um, you know, I really forget that people have a favoritism for these types of movies, even if they're terrible. Um, and That was my fault. That was my fault. It's not a great movie. It's actually the 3rd film in a sequence of films. So with that being said, I was kind of off kilter a little bit. But let me read this here. Featuring a captivating cast, including Jack Taylor and Barbara Ray, The Ghost Galleon is the 3rd chilling chapter in the cult Blind Dead saga, written and directed by visionary Armando de Osorio. It melds atmospheric gothic horror with a surreal dreamlike quality and unforgettable undead mythology. Acclaimed by genre devotees for its eerie mood and widely regarded as the most surprising film in the saga, this 4K restoration from the original camera negative brings the legendary Templar Knights back to life, fully uncut and loaded with brand new and archival extras, making it essential viewing for fans of Euro horror and supernatural terror. Yeah, I guess that's the best way you could sell this movie. There's definitely an atmosphere to it that's really cool. The zombies are really cool. The concept of it, of these Templar knights coming back from the dead and, you know, murdering people, I guess is a cool 70s thing. You got the fog machine dialed up to 1,000,000. Kind of reminded me a lot of um John Carpenter's The Fog. The Just nowhere near as good, obviously, nowhere near as good. But it's got that Euro 70s sleaze to it a little bit in there. Um yeah, it definitely has that vibe to it. But anywho, special features: 2 disc set, 4K and Blu-ray. Scanned and restored in 4K from its original 35mm camera negative. Presented in both its Spanish language soundtrack with newly translated subtitles and the English dub track. So I watched the English dub track. Yet again, that's another English dub for me. When you can tell it's not supposed to be in English, bothers the heck out of me because it looks so obvious. It looks so obvious. But that was the only way I could see it. This is available on Tubi, and it was the only way Tubi had it was with the English dub. A childhood discovery, a new appreciation by Diego Lopez Fernandez, creator of El Buque, Maldito fanzine, a new mythology in Spanish horror, a new interview with Stitches Film Festival director Aniel Sala on Armando de Osorio's horror career, Unmask the Templars, a new interview with FX artist and film historian Antonio uh, Gastununo, Armando de Osorio, The Last Templar, an archival documentary featuring de Osorio, Lone Fleming, Paul Naschy, and Jack Taylor, among other key figures of Spanish horror cinema. And I feel like if you know Spanish horror, you may have a much bigger appreciation for this movie than I do. Um, having not having not knowing a lot about Spanish horror, I don't have that connection to it. But let's move on from there. So that is the Ghost Galleon. And let's see. Oh, I did want to make mention of this. Film Movement Classics is putting out that Fritz Lang double feature epic. It's important because I'm a big Fritz Lang fan. I want to own every Fritz Lang film, so obviously I need this. It's already down to standard editions. Damn it. So this is after more than 2 decades of exile in Hollywood, master filmmaker Fritz Lang triumphantly returned to his native Germany to direct his lavish 2-part adventure tale from a story he co-authored almost 40 years earlier. Called to India by the Maharaj of Ashnapur, architect Harold Berger falls in love with a beautiful temple dancer Sita, who is promised to the Maharaj. Their betrayal ignites the ruler's wrath, and lovers are forced to flee into the desert for a series of spectacular adventures featuring breathtaking location photography and a nail-biting suspense. This epic is highlighted by Paget's erotic temple dance, a battle to the death with a man-eating tiger, sandstorms, a cave of lepers, and a bloody palace rebellion. Together, these films provide a cinematic link between classic silent serials and the modern action thrills of Indiana Jones and The Mummy. I was just thinking of those 2 movies, reading this description. Previously available in America as Journey to the Lost City, a radically condensed 90-minute version, these exotic masterpieces are presented in this 2-disc box set, newly restored from their original splendor. Yeah, I'm down. It's Fritz Lang. I'm down. 2-disc Region A Blu-ray, commentary by film historian David Callett, the Indian epic documentary, Deborah Paget, for example, video essay by Mark Rappaport, essay by Tom Gunning, and that's it. But either way, it's Fritz Lang on Blu-ray. That's all I needed to know. All I needed to know. Let's see. I do want to do this. So there's about yeah. So I want to mention this candy release, Carnival in the Night. I did not get to see this, but this movie sounded so fascinating to me. Um, so of a this sounds fascinating. Of a pair with his 8 millimeter debut, Saint Terrorism, in which wayward youths of this of we in which wayward youths and sex workers navigate attraction and murderous intent. Masashi Yamamoto's Jishu Eiga, self-produced breakthrough Carnival in the Night unfurls with a palpable sense of rage and abandon, capturing images of Shinjuku's underground and transforming its DIY into a purgatorial claustrophobic realm. Aspiring punk rocker and single mother Kumi drops off her child with her ex-husband, and the world is bled of color, beginning a phantasmagorical journey of self-discovery and self-destruction. A pitch-black look at the margins of society, contrasted by a backhanded yet no less poignant reflection on responsibility and motherhood. This movie sounds insane. Um, I think it's shot in like a hypnotizing cinema verite style, so I'm all down for that. I think it's shot in 16 millimeter, maybe less. Yeah, it says presented here, restored from their original 8 millimeter and 16 millimeter elements. Showcase Masashi Yamamoto at his most anarchic and transgressive. Yeah, this sounds fascinating. Um, Came out in 1981. 4K restoration of Carnival in the Night from the 16 millimeter negatives. 2K restoration of Saint Terrorism, which is his first film from single 8 millimeter elements. Um, Dude, which is a 2025 39-minute film, a newly commissioned short film directed by Yamamoto, exclusive to this release. Booklet with a new essay by James Valmont. Yeah, this is the movie Carnival in the Night. I'm fascinated by it. Next is a documentary put out by ETR Media. Art Spiegelman, Disaster is My Muse. Now, Art Spiegelman famously wrote one of the greatest graphic novels ever made, one of the greatest books probably ever made, in Mouse. It's to me it's required reading. I think for everyone, whether you're in school or not in school. It's a incredible incredible work. I have a copy of it. I'm looking at it's way over there with my graphic novels. I read it in school. I have a copy of it. It's been available on paperback and hardcover. It's been available as 2 volumes, been available as a single volume. It was written serialized, I believe, from 1980 to 1991. And it's all about Art Spiegelman's father's story of going through the Holocaust, and it's drawn using anthropomorphic animals. The Jewish people are mouse. They're mice. Um, and all the other, the Nazis are represented by, I believe, cats. And then, of course, I believe the like Americans are dogs. And anywho, like you know what I'm saying here. Each group of people are represented by a different type of animal and whatnot. But the part of the story is, of course, telling this story about the Holocaust and those events and all of that. And it's a incredibly powerful book. It's an evergreen story. It really is. And it's fantastic. What's great about this documentary is Art Spiegelman is still alive. Art Spiegelman is believed is in his late 70s. I think he's 78 now. And you get interviews with him in throughout this documentary. So it's not like, and of course, some of it's archival, some of it goes back to his earlier days and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of it is there's some modern stuff in there and whatnot. But not only does it tell about the making of Mouse, but it tells about the life and story of Art Spiegelman, of his relationship with his parents, and him going to school, and him getting into comic books, and him working in the comic book industry, and drawing and doing underground comics and all that kind of stuff. Which is, for as a comic book fan, that stuff is just great to me. It really, really is. And That was really such a joy, and I like this documentary a lot, like, a lot, a lot. It's a relatively new documentary too. It's from 2024? 2025, actually, so there you go. Can't get much newer than that. But for special features in here, um, art it's got deleted scenes, it's a 2-disc release. It says, "Art reads as the mind reels about watching" Art reads as the mind reels about watching Dick Van Dyke with his parents. Bill Griffin discusses the art of making woodcuts, cartoonists as reporters, Hilary Chul on academic impact of art's work, Francoise Mouly explains color separation. Francoise talks about having a printing press in their apartment and what she made. Francoise is Art Spiegelman's wife. Art talks about Mad Magazine founder Harvey Kurtzman and the war comics he published for EC Comics. Yeah, he goes back to like EC Comics and Mad Magazine. He worked with he knew, well, I mean, Robert Crumb is still alive. Robert Crumb, Harvey P. Carr, I mean, all this kind of underground comic stuff. This stuff, if you don't know any of this, it's fascinating stuff. It really, really is. I mean, a lot of us know about Marvel and DC. We know Batman, Superman, Spider Man, X Men. We know all this, but there's a whole other world of comic books that have been existing for decades and decades of underground comics. And man, it's fascinating stuff. It really, really is. Um, some other special features here. Art tells the story of being censored by Marvel Comics. Art works with artist C. Lewin. Bill Griffin describes how he and Art came up with wacky packages idea. Oh, I forgot to tell you, Art Spiegelman also did Garbage Pail Kids. He created that. Extended interview speeches, outtakes. Francoise Mouly on first coming to New York. Art Spiegelman, Skidmore College talk. Michael Chabon, Hilary Shute, artists present art with McDowell Medal speeches. Art speaks at the New York High School of Art and Design. Art Francoise Mouly, Chris Ware on the panel at Comic Arts Brooklyn. Art gives a history of comic talks in Reston, Virginia. Art Spiegelman on Forbidden Images now at the Boston Museum of Fine Arts with Hilary Chute. Art accepts the National Book Award, Lifetime Achievement Award. I mean, this is like all awesome stuff. It really is. There's a few other things here, but you get the gist of it. It's all kinds of stuff about Art Spiegelman, his work, and his life. Yeah, there's so much to talk about when it comes to Art Spiegelman and all of that. And there's so much that this documentary doesn't even get into, but does get into. I loved it. I have absolutely loved it. It's available right now to watch on Tubi. If you want to check out this documentary, it's not that long. It's 100 minutes. It's an hour and 40 minutes, and it's excellent. Once again, if you know about Art Spiegelman and you know about Mouse and you know all this already, a lot of the stuff is not going to be new to you. It's not going to be revelatory in any way, but I still find it all really, really good. Um, find it all really, really good. Um, but let's see, what else do we've got here? I think there's one more movie that I saw, and that was American Sweatshop. Not a great movie, I'll say. um, it's an interesting movie. Had a better concept than the movie itself. So, a content moderator, portrayed by Lily Reinhardt, is tasked with purging offensive media from the internet. When she witnesses a crime in a video, she is lured away from the safety of her keyboard as she obsessively seeks to hold someone accountable. Um, yeah, it stars Lily Reinhardt from Riverdale fame. It's really kind of the only thing I know her from. Daniel Melchior, who was in Suicide Squad, the James Gunn film. She was Ratcatcher. Um, so the movie is trying to be a commentary, I think, on a lot of things, and it doesn't really do it very well. It's tough to explain. So Lily Reinhardt's character, she works at basically this large data bank company where everybody just sits in front of a computer all day watching like the most horrific stuff that gets put on the internet. Like bad, like really bad stuff. And basically it's their job to whether approve it or not approve it. And there's certain like reasons why. There's certain like, is it offensive? Is it violent? Is it a crime? Is it et cetera, et cetera. So so the movie is basically goes down this rabbit hole of where she she just keeps getting more and more, like, stressed out about seeing this content over and over and over again. And the movie, like, is commenting on that. And there is a whole um plot line where she tries to, like, bring a specific video to the police, and the police are like, yeah, we don't even know if this is real. We have no idea, like, this is not even our jurisdiction, this is not even our thing, like, there's nothing we can do about it. We can't There's no crime here, essentially, is what they're saying. And so the movie is kind of trying to comment on, like, even in a world filled with such images being readily put on the internet, what can be done about it? And the movie, it tries to ask that question, but doesn't really explore it in any real meaningful way. I don't know, the movie's not great. It's not a great movie. Like I said, the concept is there. There's something there with a modern um, social commentary, if you will, because obviously we're all on the internet. We're all scrolling somewhere, and there's gonna be things we wish we never saw, and there's gonna be things posted on the internet that probably should never be posted on the internet or anywhere, or things that should never happen in life. Um, and ultimately, is there any way to fix that, do anything about it? um yeah, that's kind of what this movie's about. um but it's not, like I said, it doesn't really do a lot with that concept. So that's kind of about it. Let me check for the special features on here. Oh, there's just a trailer and behind the scenes, and a discussion with the director and producer, and deleted scenes. That is it. um that is it for everything, I believe. What are we doing in terms of time? I think yep, it's one of the shortest episodes we've done in quite some time. um, After this, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I gotta catch up. I have to actually catch up on some things to watch. Um, I've actually been catching up on a lot of shows over the last week that I've been sick and whatnot. Well, also a few things have dropped as well. Um, so I've been catching up on that. I'm catching up on some movies I've got to watch here. But I think that is it. A couple of things before we go. I do want to remind people there is another episode of Movies Down Memory Lane coming up alive on Saturday, March 14th. We will be talking about Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which is truly a fond memory for myself. I may bring my comic books out for that, because I have the comic books for those. And then of course I've got the movie and whatnot. But anywho, that's coming up on March 14th. We're having an unwatched pile on March 29th. We will be back here for Chasing Labels in 2 weeks' time, which will be the 16th, the day before St. Patrick's Day. Um, so I believe it will be the 16th, unless hmm, we shall see. I'm thinking, because I'm thinking that day we may have the drop. We may have Criterion drop. So if I have to push it to that Tuesday, maybe I'll do that, depending on what drops for Criterion. If it's stuff I've never seen, then maybe I'll push it a day just so I can watch something. If it's stuff I've already seen, then Brad I'll just talk about it. Um, but anywho, it's tentatively the 16th, which will be the next episode of Chasing Labels. That will be episode number 186. Um, but between then and now, check out the interviews we've been doing here on Chasing Labels. Steven just did an interview with our friend Jonathan Hertzberg from Fun City Editions, as well as, why did I forget his name already? I gotta go check it out. Let me go to. I always forget. I hate screwing up people's names. Paul Martinovich from Radiance / Transmission Films. He worked on Night of the Juggler, as well as The Stuntman. Those two releases from Radiance. So check out those interviews if you haven't already. Plus anything else that we've got going on here. Also, there is a Chasing Labels shorts and clips channel that we've started already. There's a few uh, shorts I have up there of I've been doing, like, this anniversary release, because anniversary shorts of movies that are having anniversaries this year. Whether it's 15 years, 20 years, 50 years, 55 years. You know what I'm saying? This is one of those types of years. So I've been making little shorts on there. Check that out if you haven't already either. But yeah, thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. Check out Movies Down Memory Lane as well. You can find the audio for this episode anywhere audio can be found: Apple, Spotify, Google. The audio is actually also here on YouTube as well. Of course, the replay is under the live tab, if you will, the live tab. Check out all the things we've got going on here on Chasing Labels. And hey, we're in March, starting a new month. And also, hey, keep on watching those movies because I know I will.